potentially, but just giving him a bit of a confidence boost and getting him into third position ahead of Kevin Ellis Jr. Kevin Siggy would cross the line to take victory ahead of Tormala, then Rogers, Ellis Jr., Pajic and Brzezinski, the top 6. Kasdorp, Kazabon, Dinez, Neva, Ozildirim and then Østgaard. And on to quarter-final 4. Maximilian Benneker would be starting from pole position alongside Jeff Rietveld, 2 of them taking wins in quarter-finals around here. Mac Backham looking to make it 4 from 4 for Porsche Commander. And then drivers like Dara McCormack starting from the rear of the field, trying to work their way up and throw themselves into the mix. Big kick of oversteer from Ibrahim Khan as he would leave the first corner, but he would be inside that top 6. Max Benneker was having to worry about the charge of Jeff Rietveld, who would look to the inside coming into Les Combes and would take over the race lead for Team Redline. Meanwhile, Dara McCormack was making swift progress early, getting past Ian Porter, getting past Graham Carroll, getting past Peter Berryman in the early stages as they would race their way down towards Rivage. Yuri Toman as well in this race in 7th position in a real tussle with Eamon Murphy and Ibrahim Khan ahead. The race down the hill, Yuri Toman, the Czech driver, would get himself just ahead of Eamon Murphy as they would race up Eau Rouge and Radion. Was it all about to end in tears? 3 wide once again up the hill. Ibrahim Khan just about giving enough room. Lots of bumps, lots of bashes, and then Eamon Murphy was sent around as the second consecutive race. It does not work. Yuri Toman will receive a slowdown penalty, and it would be right into the pathway of Peter Berryman on the start-finish straight as Dara McCormack would work his way up into 7th position, trying to get himself past Peter Berryman. The inside line through Malmedy, and Berryman was not letting go. It was allowing Ibrahim Khan to clear away. By the time they got down towards Rivage, almost with a little bit of assistance from Graham Carroll, the door was opened for Dara McCormack to sneak his way through into 7th position. Peter Berryman down to 8th. Graham Carroll would have to remain in 9th, and Ibrahim Khan was 1.5 seconds down the road. A mistake though from Peter Berryman out wide through No Name, and he would spin almost in front of Graham Carroll. Final lap of the race, and coming across the line, Max Benneker would take yet another victory from Jeff Rietveld and from Mac Backham, who does make it 4 from 4 for Porsche Commander. Then Kaki Oliveira, Mikko Gal, and then Ibrahim Khan getting through to his first semi-final.
Now as all the cars line up on the grid, ready for the start of this race. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, and the 5th light here at Spa. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 and a very good start indeed by Dane Warren as he makes his way towards turn 1. Still not enough though to get past Sebastian Job, not yet anyway, as they peel through now. There you can see the Team Redline cars also in behind. You've got another Porsche in the mix too, but it's the G2 Esports car belonging to that is Sebastian Job, who leads them through Rouge and Radion. Luke Bennett there in third too, Mitchell de Jong in 4th with Enzo Benito, sat in 5th place. Moritz Lerner there in 6th as well. But here comes now Dane Warren as they head up through towards Les Combes, potentially 3 wide. Enter Luke Bennett, who finds the inside line. Can he get past Dane Warren? He can, and nose in front. A vital move on lap 1 of 7. He will at least maintain that place. And here comes Benito.
Yeah, you got Yovsky in there, you got a spin as well. That'll be Moritz Lerner going rid of a half spin. Thankfully, he catches it down the inside. Marcel Ginchik's going to go, by the way. This is what happened to Moritz Lerner.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming together with the RAG as well. As we now see them come through. Now that, yeah, very, very close. And here comes the swap. Chinchik up into 6th. They almost read our minds, Lewis. Well, and here it comes. Yovsky receiving a 4-speed limit of 60, so a slowdown essentially. 5-second slowdown. The fury there of Lasse Sorensen certainly not content with staying in 9th place as they went swarming through the bus stop chicane. Oh, goodness me. And that was the slowdown. I think Yovsky was told to slow down, and I think Tatler went straight into the back of him. Into the bus stop chicane for the final time here in semi-final 1. Patrick Holzman is receiving a drive-through for a corner cut. Now that's going to certainly not help, but Sebastian Job takes victory in semi-final 1. And what a statement from G2 Esports. He's got a smile on his face.
Yeah, certainly so. So Rogers then starting from pole position. Kevin Ellis Jr. will start from the front row alongside. It's not a great launch from Kevin Ellis Jr. though. As you can see, Yannick Tourmala's got his way alongside on that race down towards the source for the first time. A couple of looks down the inside of various drivers in the background, including Jasper Brzezinski. One out wide, that's Team Redline. That is Jeffrey Rieveld who's been pushed off, and it's going to be 3 wide down the hill. It might have actually been a little bit of Kevin Siggy in there who's been pushed off coming through that first corner. The squeeze is coming up through the hill, and unfortunately, well, that is a pretty good example of the commentator's curse. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely right. Ibrahim Khan also losing out a couple of places. Jakub Brzezinski also in the mix. Look at this, 3 cars right at the back. A bit of a move there. Marco Pejic had a little twitch heading up through the Kemmel Straight. And enter now Maximilian Benneker, who looks to tackle Kevin Siggy, the man with the greatest moustache you'll ever see, now being usurped by Benneker, who looks around the outside through Malmedy. They come side by side. Oh, Siggy's round! Siggy's round! And you can just tell that he is not happy about that. Oh, we've got a bit of a tie-up as well, further back as well. Still Ibrahim Khan now trying to face off with Kaiki Oliveira. Got very deep into the bus stop there. And as a result, it got very close as well with Jeffrey Rieveld in behind. I get the feeling eventually it's going to come down to one big crescendo as Ibrahim Khan, oh, big moment heading through La Source now. And how's that going to affect his exit heading out of turn 1? They've got turn 2 and 3 coming up next. Eau Rouge and Radion, and Jeffrey Rieveld must be licking his lips at the prospects of taking on Ibrahim Khan here up the long straight here at Spa. The Team Redline now starting to creep ever closer, opening the door to the right-hand side. Defensive move there from Ibrahim Khan. The BMW moving to the inside against its suppressor from Team Redline, as now Rieveld looks to go hunting again. Might have an opportunity out to Malmedy as they creep down towards Rivage. Again, creeping to the inside again. Rieveld knows that his time is up. Heads through this next right. Khan again defends to the inside. Super work there for Ibrahim Khan. Moving. It's ever so dangerous up through towards Lecom, but he pulled it off.
Yeah, I've got to say that Lecom bit, that might have been a bit reactionary. That might have been a little bit too much. Now, I'm not sure what the rulings are when it comes to being reactionary on defence, or whether you have to be proactive, whatever. If you do it once or twice too many, if Rietveld's kind of there and then you react to his position, it can really cause a problem. Well, we are going to see Ibrahim Khan dropping back anyway, as he's going to receive a slowdown penalty on the start-finish straight this lap, so he will no longer be in 6th position. Jeffrey Rietveld will be the one to progress his way up.
Garner a result here in this semi-final. Creeps down the inside at bus stop, and they are actually going to fight here. Now this is very brave for Ibrahim Khan. I would imagine he would have been notified of his penalty. Yep. He is going to be slowing down, and Rieveld goes through. Back
up towards the front, because Yannick Tourmal has not been able to do anything about this man here, who comes out of the final corner, and it is yet another win for Josh Rogers, who picks up semi-final number 2 here for ESL R1 round number 7 as we return to Spa.
Got 4 lights, all 5 lights are lit, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Joshua Rogers not wasting any time at all, clears his way to the front end, as now Benito looks to go hunting as well. Through La Source they go, nose to tail once again. Oh, dearie me, Kevin Ellis Jr., he's round. Kevin Ellis Jr. is round now out of La Source, and now they're going to peel through. Eau Rouge and Radion next as they all line up in a string. It's Joshua Rogers leading the way off the race start. Got a lovely lead, but now they're going to tie up now through this long straight as they do peel on through. I believe it's Enzo Benito who's now going on full attack as they now make their way up towards Lecom. Mitchell de Jong as well in 3rd as well. Covering off the inside is Rogers, as side by side as well for P4 and 5 as Chin Ching looks to enter the fight. They remain side by side through Malmedy, but enter now Mitchell de Jong. What a send there as they come through Malmedy. Rivage up next, but crucially now a Porsche tucking through the inside, the Tiger line as they tackle Rivage. Rogers in front, and 2nd now, Mitchell de Jong, Lewis McGlade.
So let's take a little look then at the race start.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin Ellis Jr. Oh, he was turned around initially.
the fact that Furia have Kaiki Oliveira representing the squad and is doing an incredible job in doing so, and he's going to try and get past another one of the BMW M4s. It's a bit of infighting between those lot, but let's see if Kaiki Oliveira can get through. He's got to the outside coming up towards Lake Com. They're all single file ahead, a bit of side-by-side from those behind as Dane Warren's trying to fend off Sebastian Job. At the moment, Bennett's able to fend off Kaiki Oliveira as they wrestle their way over the top. Dane Warren, look at the fight as well. Rietveld, I think, was looking behind and almost made a bit of contact with Job.
So currently sandwiched in between the pair as Dane Warren now looks to try and get ahead of Kaiki Oliveira as they go side by side, heading up through Lake Com. Contact as they make their way through. Dane Warren doing well to hold on to the car, but Kaiki Oliveira now up into 7th. And take a look at Sebastian Job now, who might fancy a move heading down in towards Rivage, might choose to pick his spot earlier, and does have a look down the inside of the Porsche, not able to make the move, but a very good display of pace here from Kaiki Oliveira to fend off the approach from Dane Warren and also secure that P7. Orders, we're now seeing Sebastian Job now flickering all over the back, or certainly Jeffrey Rietveld is this time as the two Beamers come together. Now this is an intriguing prospect as they come wheel to wheel again. Of course, Jeffrey Rietveld, another man who's obviously looking to try and improve his prospects in his very first final as they come wheel to wheel now through the bus stop chicane. Now the two Beamers, the team red line there, Jeffrey Rietveld contact as they head through the final corner. Job having to correct the car as they make their way down through towards turn 1, but enter Yoni Tormala. He's now in the midst of two G2 esports cars. Rietveld now in trouble, but is he, as he now goes deep into turn 1? Oh, a fantastic move from Rietveld now as the switchback comes in from Sebastian Job. They peel out of the source. They've still got a Rouge and Radion left to go as they now head on through towards those very famous bends that of course also include an elevation rise that Job tackles brilliantly as they now make their way along the straight. Tormala receives a forced speed limit. He's got to slow down due to a course collision. Now, is that due to Kevin Ellis Jr.?
I think potentially it'll be something to do with that. Let's see if Sebastian Job can make his way straight back past on Jeffrey Rietveld. There's been a couple of bumps through the final chicane. There's a couple more bumps up here at Lake Com. That was a big chop over from Jeffrey Rietveld, who then gets squeezed off from Sebastian Job. I think they've been watching some British touring cars this weekend at Donington Park.
And now he's going to join an exclusive club. He's going to take his second final win. He's going to join Dara McCormack. It's Joshua Rogers. It's Porsche Coanda. He takes the final victory in round 7 here in ESL R1. It's Joshua Rogers dressed in black. The Porsche strikes. They've taken victory here in a very crucial time as we...
Hello everyone and welcome back to RaceSpotTV as we get set to see who's going to sail off towards Rennsport Summit and to the ESL R1 Spring Major. My name is Arjuna Kenkipati, delighted that you're joining us once again on RaceSpotTV. It's been an exciting 90 days. Only 90 days ago we got started at IEM Katowice, and now, today, we step one step further, of course. Monday we'll find out the 24 drivers that work their way on forward. Today is that first opportunity. It's been a wild ride. Rennsport, a brand new platform. So many new teams coming into the fray as well. A big shake-up in the sim racing world. And what has it meant? Some really entertaining races over the last 3 or so months. And now we'll do it all again to try and figure things out. If you're new, welcome along. If you're being a veteran of the series, you've been there since the start, well, you've seen what this is all about. You know the tight, close confines racing that we have tended to see. And now it all comes down to this. No one's going to be sitting back and waiting for opportunities to be presented to them. Everyone is going to be pushing. If I didn't say it already, my name is Arjuna Kenkipati. Delighted to have you all along. Dude, remember, you can join me in the RaceSpotTV YouTube chat to keep me entertained, but also to get your thoughts onto this broadcast. We're going to keep a lot of this open. There's going to be a lot of discussion as we work our way through. Let's talk through the schedule very quickly because it's been a really fun sort of a ride for us. Starting, of course, in person for 2 rounds, and now online since March the 13th. It's been 2 full months of online racing, April being 3 rounds back-to-back. It was relentless for the drivers, and now we get to see how they've been able to recharge and maybe find a little bit more speed in about 3 weeks off. Then we'll roll, of course, June 3rd and 4th to the rescheduled Spring Major, our Rennsport Summit. Very excited to see how that's going to play out again in person. So we're going to see how the drivers can adapt to an in-person environment once again. and maybe with some audience. That's the question. Who is going to end up being at the RaceSport Summit? If you're wondering what they're fighting for, well, the spring season alone has a prize pool of 250,000 euros. That's split between the drivers and the teams. Now, Team Championship going to be basically done on Monday. Drivers Championship still has a long way to go, because once we get the top 24 into the spring major, then we whittle it down by half to 12 after day 1, where we reset the points. Day 2 is a fresh slate if you're able to work your way on forward, and then the goal is to reach finalist mode. There is a hypothetical possibility that we could have a never-ending day number 2. The reality is that is unlikely to happen. Once you reach finalist mode, one victory away from becoming the champion. What's the format though for today? Quarterfinals with 12 different teams. Each driver chooses one driver for each of the quarterfinals. There's no help. They've got to fight amongst the rest of the pack. 6 drivers advance. There are points handed out to those that do not advance, and then we do the same thing in the semifinals. 12 enter in 2 semifinals, 6 advance out of each, and then it goes into that final 12 driver battle to try and become a RaceSport winner. Not been many of them, and Josh Rogers, now a 2-time winner, has joined Dara McCormack in that elite company. What do the points look like? Well, here's not the points as they technically should be reflected, because top 14 are locked into the spring major. The advantage that Nikodem Wisniewski has with 130 points over Tomo Osgaard with 81 points, significant enough that the Mercedes-AMG Williams esports driver is not too concerned about the proceedings here today. But again, for anyone inside that top 15, more points today and on Monday means that more of a stable footing is probably, I think, the best way to put it going in to June the 3rd. Just look at those names, though. 15th on back, you've got Pajic, Naujoks, Rietveld, Brzezinski, De Jong, Bakum, Oliveira, Gala, Fluke, Osgaard. It's a stacked field. It's been a lot of fun this season seeing these drivers having to adapt as well. The swings and roundabouts that they've had, all it takes is 1 or 2 good results, and suddenly everything has really shaken on up. Team Championship as well, of course. This is where Team Redline do have a slight advantage over R8G Esports, and realistically, this actually could be locked and loaded here today at some point in time. Look at the margin between those top 2, though, and Porsche Coanda, who have started to come good just a little bit late in the season. Mercedes-AMG Williams only 4 points clear of Mouse Esports, who very much will be looking to leapfrog their way on forward. A couple of new drivers as well coming in for today. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Of course, the new names that came into sim racing as a result of this ESL R1 tournament, the likes of the FaZe Clan, Furia, Heroic, even Mouse. G2 Esports are a big esports name, yes, but we've seen them in sim racing for many a year, and now we've got Sebastian Joe back in their stable as well to help support them over the course of what's, I think, a 3-round run for Sebastian Joe. Team Championship looking very, very interesting, though. Now we'll take a look over at the, well, I was going to say the cars on track, but unfortunately they aren't out on track just yet, so we will hold for just a couple of moments here. And if you joined us early, you were watching some of the highlights of round number 7, a really fun round. Remember, 3 tracks. That's something that a lot of our people in chat have been eager to point out as maybe one of the things that they would like to see change moving forward. But in some ways, there's been such an evolution week to week that these drivers have been finding speed and finding time in the simulator that it seems somewhat beneficial to allow them the opportunity to have stable tracks and maybe moving forward into a fall or summer season. Don't know what the plans are exactly, but maybe that's when we can start to see a little bit more in terms of variety start to be brought in. That's not to say, if you're just joining us, that we have not had slight changes here and there. We had, I think it was after round 5, a quite significant rework in how the draft would play out, and Dirty Air in particular. Drivers now a little bit more pleased in their ability to be able to follow closely, and so that's going to be a nice thing to see. I'm also going to be curious what some of the newer drivers are going to be able to do. I want to point out Jack Heathley, who slightly was robbed of a spot in the semi-finals last time out. He was inside the top 6 until elbows out from behind saw him go around, and so looking forward to seeing him back in the car. Another new driver that we're going to see today, Beitske Visser, becomes the first female competitor in ESL R1, with the BMW BS competition squad becoming the first team to use 6 different drivers over the course of the season. It's allowed them the opportunity maybe to get bit more of a sense for what their lineup's going to be moving forward. The BMW M-Team BS competition have not enjoyed the best of runs. I think it's fair to say, all things considered. While we wait, slight hold here, like I mentioned, while we get ready to go for quarterfinal 1. Let's start to work our way through some of the teams. We've enjoyed doing this over the course of the season, and so we'll start with the Corby crew, with the Apex Racing team. Now, Peter Berryman, Kevin Ellis Jr., Jamie Fluke, and Johan Hart are 4 drivers that are, in the words of Paul Smith, ever present at the top of the iRacing World Championship scene. Peter Berryman is the Force Dynamics Solara iRacing Grand Prix champion. Kevin Ellis Jr., Jamie Fluke, and Johan Hart have been at the top many a year of their own as well, but now taking steps outside of iRacing for the first time. It's been interesting to see how the Apex Racing team have been able to work their way, not just here in Rennsport, but even last year in the VCO Esports Racing League, across the different platforms. They were maybe the most improved team in the sim racing world in the back half of the year, and so maybe it's a slight surprise to see the fact that only Kevin Ellis Jr. is locked in, Jamie Fluke is on the bubble, and Johan Hart on the outside looking in. Peter Berryman said on social media he's basically already given up this round. He's spent most of his time focusing on this weekend for the iRacing Nürburgring 24 Hours, which we will have uninterrupted coverage of here on RaceSpotTV. That's going to be a lot of fun, although I'm not exactly sure how our race here today at the Hockenheim Ring has any correlation to what we've got going on at the Green Hell this weekend. Some news coming, I think, for the Apex Racing team as well, potentially, later on this weekend. Let's talk as well about the aforementioned BMW MBS competition. It's a wonderful team name. But like mentioned, 6 drivers with Beitske Visser joining the ranks today. But Ryan Barneveld, Phil Denez, and Rainer Talvar, along with Ibrahim Kama, are basically already out of it, you'd have to say. They are going to need a win and results other ways to not go in their direction. Niels Naujok's the one that, after the Silver Fox, really surprised us initially with a lack of speed on site, and then coming onto the online rounds and qualifying, being able to really work his way forward. He sits 16th, one that with consistent results still has that potential, although we'll see how it all ends up faring out. Quarterfinal number 1 on deck. The driver is out for practice, and so let's run you down through the lineups for said quarterfinal, because look at this. Marcel Chinchik, Enzo Benito, Dara McCormack, and then James Baldwin. Those are 4 very strong names at the very front of the field. But again, remember, top 14 locked in. Those drivers just trying to build up a better base for the Spring Major. Behind them, Warren, Tatala, and Job. The major storylines here are going to be very excited to see what Sebastian Job's able to do. The false start in his first round that he competed in the final, is what deprived him of a potential victory, which assuredly would have seen him, if not being locked in, being very much in contention to work on forward. And so that's what the driver from Great Britain is dealing with here today. Like I mentioned, though, we are out on track for our first signs of on-track action. Here is a look at Phil Denez in his machine as he just putters his way around the track. Hockenheim, also one of those tracks that I always find quite interesting. Flat, doesn't look that technical, but it tends to race quite well in GT3 machines, if only because it allows plenty of opportunities for sends at the end of the day. Maybe into the hairpin is obviously the major talking point, as we'll take a look at the track map from up above, but there are other opportunities. Let's not beat around the bush. The opportunity presents itself into that stadium section where it does get slippery if you go offline. We've seen through Sachs Curve, even in this series, the best drivers making issues. And so watch out for that. Mercedes-Benz Arena, of course, as well, after the hairpin. If you've been chock-a-blocked up and starting to try and battle side by side through the kink into that corner, it always tends to end a little bit more in disaster than the drivers realize. So that's the track that we're dealing with today. So again, just a reminder, 3 tracks: Spa, Hockenheim, and the Nürburgring. We're back at the Nürburgring today. There is the BMW M-Team BS competition. Do remember as well that you can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading on to the Apple App Store, to the Google Play Store, and downloading the Rennsport mobile app. It's a great way to be able to follow along, although I will warn you in advance, it's a little bit ahead of what you're seeing on the broadcast. It's even a little bit ahead of what I'm seeing when I'm broadcasting. So just keep that in mind as practice will come to an end. What does that mean now? Qualifying. the most fun part of ESL R1, because we get hyperpole qualifying, as I've started to call it. 1 lap on the board for each of the drivers, and then they roll actually in the order that they finished in practice. So we should see Dara McCormack going out first. I will also say, by the way, updated ESL R1 mobile app. I've just opened it for the first time since the last round. We've got pictures for some of these drivers and everything now. Delightful stuff. I want to give a shout out to the hardworking team over at RaceSpot, doing a great job to get everything working. I do need to install RaceSpot on my Steam Deck to try and see if I can get it working for my trip over to Indianapolis in a couple of weeks' time. What better thing to do while sitting in the final day of practice for the Indy 500 than playing a little bit of RaceSpot. On board with Dara McCormack, the first 2-time winner in ESL R1 history. Got to be careful for the anti-cuts that the simulator has. Dara McCormack seemingly all right through turn 1, and now the crucial turn 2, where the exit out of here determines the run that you get all the way down to that heavy braking zone at the hairpin. This is technically turn number 5. What do you guys think? Is this turn 5? Really? It's a turn, yes, but I don't think we have to name it or number it anything. Onto the brakes, about 150 meters away from that hairpin. Now, you want to try and open up the corner, but when you're fighting side by side, it's a very different experience, and so the qualifying line going to be slightly different from the battle lines that we're going to tend to see. Flick it through turn number 7, and then set up on the right-hand side into the Mercedes-Benz arena. Spot your braking zone on that right-hand side. Some drivers will use the curb, some drivers will use the wall on the outside, and then pivot back off to the left through 9, in towards 10. This is where, again, you'll see drivers trying to maximize, but that anti-cut curb can unsettle the car. We've seen some drama there. Into Mobile 1. So much commitment required. On the brakes, down a gear, and then look how close to the gravel they try to get. This is where so many a driver has slipped up, including the likes of Sebastian Vettel, through Sachs curve. Slightly cambered in at times. If you're side by side on the outside, you can be shoved off very, very easily. Penultimate corner, got to be careful, just tentatively roll the car through. Get onto the power nice and early to power out of the Sud curve and to set a lap time here at the Hockenheim ring. Dara McCormack's going to punch in a 1:36.062. We'll see how that stacks up in a couple of moments' time. So Dane Warren, who has gotten pole position in the last couple of qualifying quarterfinal sessions he's been a part of, will try and get his day off on the right foot. He's using a little less of the anti-cut curve. Just watch that line. Being very, very cautious about the balance of that rear engine 911. 36.091. He's 300ths off of Dara McCormack. That's a good lap time, as we would expect from the Irishman, allowed to qualify once again. Here comes Chinchik, the R8G esports driver that sits 3rd in points. But I do think is not necessarily so focused on the team drivers championship, today. Team championship, where I think R8G will be looking to try and reel back in Team Redline. 36 flat for Marcel Chinchik. So over half a tenth quicker than Dara McCormack. And a driver that needs to make sure he's out of danger, not just today in quarterfinal action, but on Monday in semi-final action leading into the final. Sebastian Job, the Oracle Red Bull Racing and G2 Esports driver, comes out of that final corner. Haven't had a BMW set a lap time just yet, so now we'll get a sense. It's a 36.038 in front of McCormack, behind Chinchik. 1/10 splits the top 4. This is why Hyperpole qualifying is so much fun. Enzo Benito in the Redline BMW will be next up. Through the final corner. Or in towards the final corner, I should say. Car backfires a little bit as it rolls through the gears once again. Enzo Benito with a 36.143. Going to be the slowest time so far. Remember, top 6 advance out of the quarterfinal. And we do tend to see most of the battling be concentrated around that 6th position rather than at the very front of the field. No points, no incentive to fight for first or second. You just want to make sure you're inside that top 6. Getting a little bit more time between each of these cars in qualifying, which gives us the opportunity to see Tuomas Tatila in that heroic esports car set at 1:36.286. He's going to be 6th and slowest so far. The heroic esports drivers, though, coming in with a couple of them knowing that a good round propels them towards Germany, towards the Spring Major. Tatila's 27th in points, just on the outside looking in. James Baldwin, 11th in points. Been a bit hot and cold at times. I think that's the story for pretty much everyone, though. No one's really been able to be uber consistent. James Baldwin with a 1:36.191, 6th fastest. And more importantly, a better benchmark is the Dara McCormack in the fastest of the Mercedes so far. About 1.3 tenths of a second in front. Marcellus Neva, who joined us on debut last time, wiggles the Fury of BMW through the final corner. That's going to be a 36.741. Car didn't really look in control. He'll be hoping for a bit of drama in front of him. Phil Dinez has been driving a different GT3 manufacturer in the real world recently. Delighted to see Phil back in the cockpit of a real racing car. A driver, though, that I'm slightly shocked is down in 42nd, even though he's missed 2 rounds. In a GT3 machine, Dinez tends to be quick. What's it going to be for him in qualifying, potentially for the final time in the spring? Half a second off for the number 90. So just Holtzman, Berryman, and Yarshell to come. No qualifying bans in this first quarterfinal. There are some to speak of in the second and fourth, though. Patrick Holtzman, another one yet to fire off, 41st in points. His Audi trundles through. Should have some good balance through the final sector, given the mid-engine nature of the car. It's a 36 flat to beat, remember. 36.276, so he'll be in 7th. Berryman, it's Audi still to come. Yarshell's Porsche still yet to run. So Baldwin and Holtzman currently on either side of the line. Sounds like maybe Yarshell does actually have a qualifying infringement. Not sure exactly. But as Peter Berryman wiggles to the line, yeah, that's going to have a slowdown on that lap for sure. And not representative by any means for the Apex Racing Team driver. There is Yarshell, so as mentioned, maybe there was a bit more. One more qualifying infringement to speak of. It is Tim Yarshell. That does not set a time and starts from the back, but it's Marcel Chinchik. And the R8G Audi with a 1:36 flat. That has set our benchmark for today. We've been getting quicker and quicker in terms of these lap times over the course of the season. As the drivers learn the sims a little bit more and get to grips with this incarnation of the track. But at the same time, with fixed setup competition, there is only so much evolution that the drivers can do in terms of setup. I always find that an interesting thing. Where do you guys stand on the line? Fixed versus open setup racing? I think there is definitely merits to each of those. So as qualifying draws to a close, they head off into a warm-up session. They'll get a couple of moments to get up into racing gear before they head out to the grid for a standing start on a short blast in towards turn number 1. We'll continue our cycle through the teams very quickly and touch on the FaZe Clan, who joined up with Porsche, not just in the virtual world, but some interesting fan activations in the real world as well. Tim Yarshell, Lucas Muller, and Ulas Ozoldirim, the sim racing known quantities in the lineup. And then Ian Porter, the, I think, 21-time Call of Duty World Champion. Crimsix has not just got 1 point anymore, he's up to 4 points and continues to just get closer and closer in terms of the gap, and it's been really impressive to see someone that clearly has that competitive mindset being willing on a public stage to take his licks and continue to try and find a little bit more speed. Hopefully we'll get the chance to chat with Ian later today. Will Chadwick, RaceSpot's own, has been helping out Ian in his quest to get a little bit quicker in sim racing, as I'm sure Ian's got plenty of other useful, beneficial resources, and so making the most out of what he can. Talk as well very quickly about our friends from Furia, because this was a team I was really excited about. An all-Brazilian lineup that flew their drivers over to Europe to be able to compete in the online portions of the event. And so Felipe Baptista, Jeff Giassi, Kake Oliveira, and then Victor Veloso were the four. Baptista unfortunately had to step aside, and so Lasse Sorensen jumped in, made the final on debut. Let's not talk about how the final went. Finished last. He still has 57 points. Oliveira's in 21st. He just needs a solid day. For Giassi, he's the real shock for me. A driver that took his exploits in the virtual world into a seat in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil in the real world. He's so quick. He's so talented. Has been on so many fast teams. I thought he'd be able to lead Furia as they entered the esports rank, sim racing ranks rather. Lasse Sorensen with that 57 points, really the igniting the fire, I felt, for Oliveira to get some good results. Veloso as well has impressed in speed, just has been unlucky on occasion. So that's 4 teams talked about. We've still got 3 quarterfinals left after this, so we'll save the 8 other teams for a little bit later on. Warm-up rolls on right now. And I'm being informed by Dame Baird, it's a 38-time Call of Duty World Champion for Ian Porter. That's why he is the number 38. He has 3 world titles as well. I don't know enough about Call of Duty to know what a world title is, to know what a regular title is. So all I know is I love the way that he's approached his sim racing. And what the interview, I'll say interview in air quotes, that he had with Gamer Muscle back on stage when he was still trying to finish the race. That was interesting. Car's getting gridded up and ready to go. Oh boy, I missed this the last couple of weeks, and for the final time this spring, we're ready to rumble for quarterfinal action. Drivers focus their attention up towards the lights. Engines roar in symphony. Quarterfinal 1 in round number 8 is underway. Single file immediately for Sebastian Job as he tucks in behind Marcel Chinchik in through turn number 1. No drivers want any sort of trouble. It is Dane Warren having to go a bit defensive from the red line BMW. Watch Patrick Holtzman try to take it 3 wide. He's going to make contact with his former teammate. Opportunity now in the heroic Porsche for Tumas Tattler to take advantage. Holtzman, who was the instigator, is the big loser in the situation. Now Benito tries to get the squeeze on Tattler though. He's going to be able to chop the nose off of the Porsche behind. Look at that. Marcellus Neva force off into the grass. Excuse me, Sir Patrick Holtzman gets the bumper out. Dane Warren's been spun. It's a bit ridiculous. I know it's the final round. They all want a piece of the action. Patrick Holtzman still defensive now, though, as Tim Yarshell tries to get on past him. Look at how Holtzman's trying to work to the inside, even mid-corner. Now elbows out with Fildenez in the BM's competition car. He goes out wide. Now Neva's going to go up the inside. A little bit elbows out, helter-skelter. It means that the top 4 are broken away. Tumas Tattler 5th, Enzo Benito 6th. They fight in towards Sachs Curve. Big send from Yarshell, who from the back is up to 7th. Plenty of replays, I get the sense, to look at off that start. But at the end of lap number 1, as Peter Berryman up the inside of Fildenez, it's Chinchik that leads from Job, McCormack and Baldwin the breakaway. Tattler, Benito, then the start of the second train. That includes 2 opportunities to work on forward to a semi-final. For 6 drivers, potentially, their final opportunities in the spring season. And indeed, for all 6 drivers on the outside of the transfer spots, they are outside of the top 24 as well. For Dane Warren, remember 25th coming into this one. I mean, how much closer would he have wanted to be? That is going to be heartbreak for the Australian, as that looks like a send attempted from Enzo Benito. He's going to have to go the long way around on Tumas Tattler though, who parked it on the apex in attempt to defend and ended up being able to fend off that advance in a pretty healthy fashion. So 10 lap races. Remember, we are slightly shorter in terms of the race length than what we had in our very first and second rounds on site in IEM Katowice. So let's go ahead. And as I think it's calmed down, which is always the curse, you know it's about to pick up in intensity, let's cycle through some replays. Basically, we're just going to watch out of turn 2 in towards the hairpin. So you see Holtzman go to the inside, and he's not just trying to go to the inside of the Mercedes AMG car, he's trying to go to the inside of Benito. Door opens for Tattler, and then as they really are sandwiched 3 abreast, Holtzman gets pushed off wide. Racing incident at that point, as far as I'm concerned. No one can really complain too much. Into the hairpin, though, how does Warren go around? Was it Baldwin assisted? Because we didn't see that. That was also pretty aggressive from Holtzman in blocking off from there. I think Benito's the one that ends up getting into the back of Dane Warren. Really hard to tell from that angle, but it's about all I can make out. In front, Benito, Tattler still going side by side. Holtzman forces Yarshell off the track, and then, like I said, does pinch on corner entry. I'm not really sure that's respectful racing, but I guess all's fair in love and war. Then there's Dinez being forced wide. We survived. Back with live pictures, though. No change in 5th and 6th with still Tattler, Benito, and Yarshell. So remember, let's just talk where drivers sit in the championship. Yarshell, 47th. Behind him, Patrick Holtzman, we mentioned 41st earlier. Marcelos Nevo only joined us for the last round, so he's 54th in points. He's here helping out Furia to try and get some points in the team championship more than anything. Phil Dinez, 42nd. Peter Berryman down in 37th, and then Dane Warren, 25th. Those are going to be 6 drivers that we say goodbye to here in the spring season. It's the jeopardy as well of this elimination bracket format that we have. Sometimes in regular esports you have, what do they call it, double elimination, where if you lose you get a second chance in like a loser's bracket. There's no second chance here. Tough. It's as simple as that. It's also tough that no one's able to follow Marcel Chinchik. 1 second clear at the front. McCormack on the back of Joe. Baldwin there as well. I'd be shocked if any of these drivers really felt like making any sense, though, given they've got almost 2 seconds back to the gaggle behind. Tumas Tassila sits in 5th position, and as Iku Merakala has just pointed out, the contrast of the bottom 6 not being able to advance, as Holtzman is now going to put Benito in danger again. As Holtzman went on Yarshell, who went on Benito. Benito's already due a penalty from Dane Warren, but I don't get the logic. You know, they make the quote that they always quote, if you're not a racing driver if you don't go for a gap or whatever, but that's a bunch of nonsense. That's a little bit more racing, although Benito's now gone around. It's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Race control's going to be busy. I'm glad I don't have their job today. They have got plenty to work their way through now, unfortunately. And I think it's probably fair that we don't dally around too much, and we should probably just go look at the replay, because, yeah, this one wasn't great, I don't think, in my mind. So you'll see from how far behind Holtzman is trying to look, he's not really alongside into the braking zone. And so I'll put some culpability on Yarshell as well, because he could have just let Holtzman get to the inside and maybe we would have survived. What happens after this, though, with Benito? So is Benito going to try and switch back on Patrick Holtzman? I think what happens is he tries to just try and cut underneath. He's not trying to make the move happen, but in the process of Holtzman and Yarshell making contact, it sent Benito around as he was, I think, attempting to mind his P's and Q's. Good thing the damage bill is virtual today, because we're racking up the spare parts bill. The various customer support representatives from the manufacturers would be making decent amounts of money. Enzo Benito is also out of the race, by the way, so after that moment of drama, a driver who was locked in to Munich is going to be done for round number 8, and we'll see him on June 3rd and June 4th. And we'll see how far back he ends up in points. 174 coming into this, so he'll get no additional points. It's about 60 back from Luke Bennett, his red line teammate that is at the top of the championship standings. Still not even halfway through this first quarterfinal, by the way. Now we are. Ticking past lap 5. Just look how much of that curb that they tried to use. They got to be very careful not to be too aggressive. Of note, Dara McCormack has leapfrogged Sebastian Job, so maybe Seb struggling a little bit, but I think they do have to watch out a little bit too. Miss Tatala has been able to close onto the back of them. Shell's only 2 seconds back as well, so any fighting does mean that could be in for a feisty end of the race. Jack Keithley checking into RaceSpotTV to say he's a little bit nervous for his next race, and I don't blame him. Mentioned it earlier, was running inside of the top 6 in his quarterfinal a couple of weeks ago, until he wasn't, through no fault of his own. It was rough, but get another opportunity today. And clearly the Mercedes is looking pretty decent. McCormack second, Baldwin fourth. And they qualify pretty decently as well. So just no pressure, Jack, for qualifying. In the one-lap shootout that you get, no pressure. That's what we're saying. It's going to be a what, 3-week gap between this round and us heading over to an in-person event. And then after that, you start to wonder, what does the future look like? Again, to reiterate, I have absolutely zero information, but summer, fall season, whatever it may be, you wonder if there's going to be driver mix-up based on performances that we've seen. I mentioned in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup a couple of times this season already the fact that it's been such a great campaign for Jordan Caruso. I genuinely wonder how long poor old Simon Feigel's going to be able to use a cricket bat to knock away the approaching teams that would want to poach such a talented driver away. In Caruso's case in particular, that there is some precedent. Cooper Webster, just a couple of years ago, who is now part of the Oracle Red Bull Racing esports team, but also, of course, competing in some open-wheel racing in the real world. Speaking of which, as Marcel Chinchik actually still extends his lead, even with Dara McCormack now behind, virtual to reality is such a hot talking point. Lauren Heinrich, I saw the news on LinkedIn just a couple of days ago, going to be competing in his very first Nürburgring 24-hour race, and he's going to be doing so in the top SB9/GT3 class in a Porsche 911 GT3R. So excited for Lauren, especially because he's in a car with, testing my memory of LinkedIn posts now as well. We're not even talking social media, we're talking LinkedIn posts, where I saw this news. It's with Lawrence Van Thor, Ein Chan Guven, and who was the third teammate, or fourth teammate, depending on how you look at it. Christian Engelhardt, I'm pretty sure. Car looks spectacular. Best of luck to Lauren, and can't wait to see how a driver that has won an iRacing 24 hours of the Nürburgring in a GT3 car fares in the real world. We've already seen Sami Matti Trogan, who's competed in sim racing across multiple disciplines, now officially part of the Walkenhorst Motorsports team, who's going to be heading back there as well. So really looking forward to that. On board with Patrick Holtzman. Haven't seen anything from Race Control just yet, so we'll wait and see. But that's an ominous sign for whether we're going to see some post-race changes rather than things that can be swapped around right here, right now. I was right, it was Christian Engelhardt. It's the number 54 Dynamic GT. It's yellow, black. It's got all these weird camo stealth designs on the car. It looks spectacular. Lauren Heinrich, go check him out on social media. Love seeing his story continuing to roll on, especially given that he's competing in the 75th year of Porsche, in the number 75 for Team 75 Bernard in the DTM. So there's a lot of things that Lauren continues to get to do with the fantastic guys over at Porsche. So Patrick Holtzman into the hairpin has been the major talking point. You'll get one more crack at that now. Or two more cracks at it, rather, excuse me, as we're on lap 9 of 10. About 230-ish kph in towards turn 2. Bleeding off speed down to about 75 at minimum corner speed, and then swooping through onto that back straightaway where once again revs build, speed rises. 2.7 seconds now, that margin between Chinchik and McCormack. He's on another planet here today. He's looking very, very comfortable. Outside, though, for the Audi of Holtzman as the German tries to put the pressure on. He loses the rear end slightly, trying to get on power. So Yarshel going to be able to hold the margin in towards 7 and 8. Tatalet has done exactly what he needed to, closed up to the back of the grouping for second on back. Into the stadium section for the penultimate time. Marcellus Neva's there as well. He's just a couple of car lengths further back. Holtzman's able to get within a car length, and that's what's enabling him to get the most of the draft, it feels like right now. Balancing draft versus dirty air, that's always something that we talk about. Remember, that was slightly tweaked to be more on the side of draft than dirty air a couple of rounds ago. Final lap of quarterfinal number 1. Are we about to see any changes? Let's find out. It's a great track, the Hockenheim Ring. Less great than it was back in the day when it, you know, used to blast off into the trees. About 12 kilometers long at one point. Literally translated, the name used to be the Triangle Course back in 1932. We went from 12 kilometers down to 7.5, and then eventually down to this redesign back in 2002 when Herman Tilke was called on in. Here comes Holtzman, though. Back to the inside. Yarshel blocks that line. Again, trying to go the long way around, and he'll try and switch back and gets a shove off the corner by Neva as Yarshel again parks on corner apex, does exactly what he needs to do. And now should be able to hold on as Holtzman runs out of opportunities. Too far back into the Mercedes-Benz arena, surely. Half-hearted attempt. The door was never open. Can't say that Patrick Holtzman hasn't tried this season. Sometimes, like today, it seems like he's tried too hard. Here's Marcel Chinchik, though, for R8G. Needing to take the fight to Team Redline. Quarterfinal 1 has gone perfectly. Chinchik on top. Benito for Redline does not advance. Marcel Chinchik becomes the first driver to move on forward here in round number 8. The queue of 4 cars behind, led by McCormack, then Joe Baldwin, Tatala. They all advance, and Tim Yarshel should do enough, race control pending, to grab the final spot in a semi-final for Tim Yarshel. It's a bit more luck than for Peter Berryman, who says goodbye to his ESL R1 spring campaign. A lot of fun as always. We'll get a moment before we hopefully get some race results up on your screen. Plenty of fascinating storylines. We say goodbye to the likes of Dane Warren, Phil Denez, Neva, Holtzman. There are your provisional results. I say provisional because I have absolutely no faith that they are going to hold. See the margin, though, at the line. 3 seconds between first and second. Incredible stuff from Marcel Chinchik. Really, really impressive to see how he was able to work on forward. And so that is quarterfinal 1 in the books. So heading out of that first race, what do you guys think? Let's head down into some quarterfinal 1 analysis. Thoughts? What are you guys thinking? Too aggressive? Was I a little bit too harsh? What do you guys think about the racing that we saw there? Because remember, it's only going to get more physical as the drivers see the racing that's happened. They get the words from their teammates now about the race reports and what they think they need to watch out for moving forward. It's only going to be probably a little bit more antagonistic at times. The difference between online and in-person events as well is that when things get physical on the track, you are protected, and the only way that a driver can send mean words your way is by Discord or voice message or something like that. In person, you actually have to go and confront the person that you potentially did some damage to, which is always an interesting complexion. So with quarterfinal 1 in the books, let's very quickly talk to you about the lineup for quarterfinal number 2, as maybe we'll hopefully get a word with a couple of our drivers. Luke Bennett, championship leader, Moritz Lohner, the only 2 drivers that are confirmed as working on into Munich. The likes of Naujoks, De Jong, Murphy, and Harth still have plenty of work to focus on now. For Bono House, Oscar Bickford, Victor Veloso, Lucas Miller, Jack Heatley, and Thibaut Casabon. Well, for a number of those drivers, the odds are not just stacked against them, it's mathematically impossible for them to advance. But that's at least a look at how they are going to end up stacking on up. While we wait for potentially a chance to chat with some of the drivers, hopefully we're not too scary here on RaceSpotTV, at least I hope that we are not. Why don't we try and grab a look at the race start and cycle through a couple of those moments on the first laps, and then see if we can also grab some of those moments at the very end. And so here we go, up above on the start. You can see that they all got single-filed initially because they knew that heading into the hairpin, if they weren't, they were going to start getting a little bit chock-a-blocked up. And Patrick Holtzman was the one that really started to instigate a little bit of drama. 3 wide as they sandwiched off the corner. Didn't end well initially for the Mouse Esport car. They then brought it back under control, brought it back onto track, and allowed them to rumble up towards the hairpin with a little bit more intensity. You can see the blocks going on, and Enzo Benito deep into the brakes would hit Dane Warren, send him around. And that was the Australian's chances of making it to the Spring Major. Gone in the blink of an eye. Not much he could have really done, unfortunately. The drama would continue, though, for a bit, as Holtzman got the elbows out on Yarshel, then tried to be a bit aggressive with the cutback, I feel. Yarshel was having none of it. Dinez tried to get alongside. He ended up being escorted wide. Allowed Neva to try and slip up his inside. That was just the start of the race, really. Now let's cycle on to, I think, what was lap 4 at this point. Although the camera shot very, very slightly off skew. You could see Enzo Benito getting turf slightly. And then this wasn't where Benito ended up doing the Alt F4. The please sir, can I have no more of this? It was after this that that moment would happen. Into the heavy braking zone. Yarshel trying to maybe slightly pinch Holtzman. Benito got rebounded into in effect, and that was really all that we were going to see. It took a while for Yarshel and Holtzman to really settle things out, and then as you rejoin at lap number 9 or so, a couple of final laps of the race, did settle into a bit of a rhythm. No penalties, by the way, I have just been told, so the results that we showed you slightly earlier, hopefully not going to change too much, make our lives a little bit easier. But this was about the closest that it got in towards turn number 9. That was really all that we had to talk about. That's why I went quiet for a second. And so then we waited a lap and a half until Marcel Cincha came across the line and finished this quarterfinal up for what was an intriguing first race of the evening, afternoon, morning. Wherever you are around the world, check on in on RaceSpotTV. Speaking of which, hello everyone again. Like I mentioned earlier, hoping to get the chance to talk with a couple of the teams, the drivers, over the course of the day. So do let us know what questions you may have for them as well, because that's always something that we look forward to do. I do believe, right on cue as well, it's almost like Sebastian Job read my mind there. We'll try and see if we can get him into the broadcast booth because he's finished up with his quarterfinal, has worked on forward into a semi-final once again, and so I think now we can hopefully... Oh, this is where it's not Sebastian's fault that I'm struggling, it's my fault that I'm struggling. Poor Sebastian's just waiting and watching until I can figure it all out. There we go, Sebi, how you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing delightful. Thanks for joining us. Last time you were racing in ESL R1, you had double header action, PESC as well as this. How much of a relief is it for you to be able to just focus on one?
Yeah, it's certainly made a big difference. I almost got a little bit complacent in the practice this week though, because it was so chilled out, and then because PESC has been going better, I've almost had a little bit less motivation for this, especially after the jump start stuff that happened. It like kind of killed the motivation. So, but yeah, I'm just kind of glad to get through, even though I wasn't feeling too confident. So it's nice to just get through safely without really any struggle. When I got through at Spa, it was like the most intense race ever because I was in P6. So yeah, it was quite nice and chill, which is good.
You say that you're feeling a little bit less motivated. I think mathematically you still have a chance, even with that jump start. How has the transition been for you learning this platform, especially given that all the other drivers have a lot more racing experience than you've had?
Yeah, it's been, especially to start with those first, like, I think it was the first week just before Nürburgring, it was a big struggle. Like, I was multiple tenths off pace, but it just kind of kept chipping away each round. And then I got through on the Friday, and then over the weekend I gained another 10th. And then it's kind of, I've got to go through that whole process on each track, and limited on time. So it's a bit tricky, but we're getting there. And each track I go to, I get up to pace a little bit quicker than the last. So I hope by the time the next season starts, it'll be better. Because even if I do qualify for the major, it's the same weekend as the last round at PESC. So this is kind of like just learning for me in that sense.
That was the question that someone in our YouTube chat just was wanting to ask you. If you do make the major, what's the plan? Yeah,
PESC has to take priority just because I'm P2. I think if I qualified for the major in a really good spot and PESC wasn't going well, then maybe I'd have to think about it. But PESC is the priority this season, and then second half of the year, RaceSpot is probably going to be the priority.
Well, that's interesting. Let's talk a bit about PESC very quickly, the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. You've had, let's say, an interesting 2023, I feel, not just there, but also in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, where it's been going up and down. You ended up winning the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Now back up in second in PESC, you say it's feeling a little bit better. What happened at the start that maybe was making you feel a little bit worse?
The start of the year, we put in so much work, but it's almost like we forgot to be more, we did so much focus on the driving, we forgot about the setup. And not that we didn't change it, but we got very narrow-minded and didn't test all the things we should have. And to be honest, we've been on the back foot all season, and then I think we've made a bit of a step forward now, but still there's some things that could be fine-tuned. But it's quite clear that the pace got stronger throughout the season. And it's funny, I was actually just talking to my teammates about this, but you have more luck the further up the front you are. It's just how it goes because there's less danger around you. So I think that's partly why I didn't have a great start to the season, but there was also some like really unfortunate moments, like where I've been at the front and still got hit off. And then there's the complete opposite where my pace was really bad at Long Beach and I lucked into getting P8 in the first race and got the reverse grid pole and won that. So it's been very up and down, like you say. But I'm feeling better now, more motivated as well, because when you do so much work for the first round and then just get hit off, it's just a killer. So it's slowly been becoming a bit more enjoyable, but I'm sure if I get taken out again, it will go away.
I like that we went from 40 to 35 to 30 cars and we still had the same level of drama in the mid-pack. It shows that that type of racing, it always is going to go a certain way. In terms of working with Cooper Webster as well, who's joined up with the Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports squad, what's it been like for the two of you, especially given that you both have real-world commitments to deal with, you as the simulator driver with the Oracle Red Bull Racing team, Cooper now, of course, doing GB4 over in the UK?
Yeah, it's been really cool, to be honest. Cooper's like a really fun guy to be around, so practicing with him is quite exciting. Like, never like bored of just driving, but also now that he's back in Australia now, but when he was in the UK, it meant that we could actually practice at normal times, which was nice, rather than one of us waking up at stupid o'clock to get laps in. So it's been nice to meet him as well, and I think it's just it's been good. But when there's only 2 of you, it can get a little bit difficult to test everything. So we've started working with some other guys as well that are in the series, which has helped a lot. And it just I think since then things have been flowing a bit better.
One final question about Pesk. How are you enjoying our new qualifying games that we managed to find?
What's that, sorry?
How are you finding the new qualifying shenanigans that we've managed to find?
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay, good.
It's still not, like, I'd prefer to not be doing any of that, but it's not too, like, for example, when it was the brake dragging, we had 3 laps in quali, so you'd spend the first 2 and the out lap doing it, whereas now we only have 1 lap, so you're not wasting 8 minutes to prepare for a lap, you're just wasting 2. So it's a lot less time consuming, which is nice. Makes practice a bit more enjoyable, but it's kind of hilarious that that's what's considered good now. But it's definitely an improvement, so I think I'm enjoying it a lot more because of that.
I'm glad to hear. I'm sure your left leg is also appreciating it. Doesn't have to be pinned on the brake. Exactly. Seb, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate a little bit of insight. I'm sure you've got to now go off and get a bit of rest before you focus up on Monday. Best of luck, and hope to see you have some more success in the semifinals.
Yeah, cheers. Good to speak to you.
Always good to have a chat with Sebastian Jove. Thank you for his time. Great to see him make that jump off into the Rennsport ranks as well after, seeing how things were going. And it's interesting to hear that the second half of the year is where we'll see him be a bit more focused on this competition. Very excited to see how that's going to play out. Here's the confirmation from what I've been told on quarterfinal number 1 results. 5 points going the way of Holtzman, 4 to Neva, 3 to Dinez, 2 to Warren, 1 to Berryman. Effectively, we say goodbye to them for the spring. We will see Benito, obviously, over in Munich. For Chinchik, for McCormack, for Joe, Baldwin, Tattler, and Yarshell. Still, semi-finals on Monday to come. And so we are looking forward to seeing how they'll all get on. We're ready to go for quarterfinal number 2, though. And so, again, we'll just have a quick reminder of what the lineup for this is going to be, which drivers, 12 drivers we're going to see. 2 of them locked in, the rest, something to play for. Luke Bennett, Moritz Lohner. Lovely to see how they're going to get on in Munich, especially knowing the pressure is off them. Bennett, the championship leader as well, who has really come on leaps and bounds in his comfort with the sim. And then you've got the likes of De Jong, Naujoks, and Murphy on the bubbles, you'd say. De Jong won that after a really impressive run in round number 7. I think is going to be expecting for some good form here today as well, although Dane Warren, unfortunately, has not necessarily had so much success. Harth, House, Bixrud, Veloso, Muller, Keithley, and Casbon, the rest of the drivers. I will also say that in this particular quarterfinal, both Victor Veloso as well as Bono House are going to have qualifying suspensions, and so will not be setting lap times in the qualifying session. There is apparently plenty of incident reviews going on in the race control room. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what was going on. I think we're going to hold maybe for a minute or 2 here before we head off to qualifying, but here is Victor Veloso, one driver that will not be heading off in qualifying. Luke Bennett, championship leader. The young Luke Bennett as well. With Redline losing the likes of Benecca, Holtzman, you could have been forgiven for thinking that maybe Redline had lost some of the core mature heads, strong voices. I don't know the right way to phrase that, but Luke Bennett, Enzo Benito, Jeffrey Rietveld, Kevin Siggy, 4 stable Redline drivers, staple Redline drivers. And they've, after a slow start, yes, they had pace, but they've just, one by one, all been kicking up into gear. And I think for Redline, plenty of their drivers in decent spot in terms of points. Probably a good time, given that we're talking about teams, for us to continue our dalliance on through of the teams. Here's a look at the G2 Esports crew. We just had a talk with Sebastian Job, who has worked on forward to a semi-final. Eamon Murphy, Isaac Price, and Yoni Tormel are the other 3 racing today, while Robbie Stapleford, after competing in the first 5 rounds of the championship, steps aside. Job takes over in his stead. Now, only Tormela is locked in, which is a surprise for a mark that has been in sim racing as long as G2 Esports. But Murphy, if he gets qualifying nailed, he's always a contender. You can say the same for Isaac Price, who's been around the block and been across of all the major sim racing competitions. And then, of course, we've seen Sebastian Job. Without that false start, he makes it, but now we know that he's probably not going to be at the Spring Major anyway. It means, what does that mean for drivers outside? If Job does make it into the top 24, does his position go to the 25th place driver? Would that allow someone like Dane Warren to have an opportunity? I'm not saying Dane would advance. I'm just using Dane as the example in this situation. And of course, before we get underway for qualifying, let's have a quick chat about the Heroic Esport team. Tommy Osgaard, the major name, but Mikel Gala, of course, someone that won the Skip Barber iRacing Formula Series to get a real-world full season. And now 22nd in points. He's got Osgaard on the bubble with him. Bixrud, unfortunately, has not really been the quickest this season in qualifying, and that's put him in some of the danger zones, while Tumas Tatala has kept himself in contention by working on forward to a semi-final. And now with more drivers dropping out, the picture becomes a little bit clearer. Although, by no means is it any sort of clear. So, getting ready for qualifying in quarterfinal number 2. The question here is, who gets pole in the second quarterfinal? Remember, 36 flat was our benchmark from quarterfinal number 1. Luke Bennett sets up on the left side and maximizes the entry. And just look, as long as you keep 2 tires on the curb, it would seem, through turn number 1, you can really maximize the entry. Then in through turn 2, braking at about 100 meters. A little bit of understeer on apex, but tentative onto the power. Swooping in towards the parabolica. Our championship leader will run. It's nice and simple in qualifying. You're just thinking about one thing: nailing the shifts, spotting your braking zone. About 150 meters down through the gears. That was a bit better on the apex for Bennett. And the turbo spool into life off the corner and in towards turn 7. Quick flick to the right. Set it up on that right-hand side. Spot your braking zone as well. There's not too many markers. Make sure you found one. Car's getting a little bit loose on you here now later in the lap. See Bennett just trying to keep it as steady as possible. Even a boat like this at times can get just a little bit out of control. Just look at that again. Margin that they run through Mobile 1 all the way up to the gravel. Cambered in Sachs curve. Bennett nice and tight. And now trying to just set up, using as much of the curb through the third to last corner. We saw the BMWs looking decently quick at times, but definitely seemed to be on the back foot today. 136 the benchmark. It's a 135.939! My goodness me! Only Sebastian Job really got the most out of qualifying in the BMW in quarterfinal number 1. Jack Keithley already sets what may be a new competition record. It's Jack Keithley up next. Said it earlier, I'll say it again. Someone that I would like to see work on forward into a semi-final to atone for sins of 2 or 3 weeks ago. 36.097 competitive, given our quarterfinal 1 times, but it's a 10th and a half off of Bennett's BMW. Now Mitchell de Jong. 19th in points. And a driver coming off a fantastic run in the finals, Porsche Coanda Esports 1 and 2. Really maximizes the track. It's only 36.2. He's 0.3 off of Bennett. I was under the impression that Victor Veloso was not going to go out in qualifying. But apparently that is not the case. before I throw the person that gave me that information, we will validate. But our RaceSpotTV team on site at ESL headquarters should be on notice. So Victor Veloso may be actually setting a time that gets him in front of Bono House. I think this is what's happening. Bono House also has a qualifying suspension, and I think maybe Victor is meant to end up finishing and starting in front of Bono. That's at least my suspicion. So it's Loner that's going to be next to the line after Holtzman's been through the wars in quarterfinal number 1. He's a quarter of a second off the pace. I will point out, Victor Veloso, if he was instructed to do a slow lap time, might end up starting in front of a driver that gets a cut course penalty. Fine margins, we'll find out. Silver Fox, Niels Naujoks to the line. BMW on top, BMW on the inside of row 2 as well. Now Eamon Murphy in that G2 BMW with Sebastian Job already through. Ooh, that's the most that we've seen someone go over the anti-cut curb so far in qualifying. Remember that there is a drag strip on the other side that is quite slippery and dusty, but Eamon Murphy makes it a BMW lockout of the front row. This is why I was a little bit surprised by the likes of Dinez and Neva struggling, because BMWs I did think were going to be pretty rapid. There's the Frenchman Johan Harth in the Audi that will be up next, after Peter Berryman already wobbled his way across the line. It's going to be a 36.399, slowest of the actual lap times. And Harth now outside of the top 6 as well. Maybe another one of the drivers that spent a little bit more time focusing on the iRacing Nürburgring 24 hours, where Johan Harth will be competing tomorrow. Now, Thibaut Casabon, who joined us in the previous round, got 4 points. What can he do as he tries to get a little bit more comfortable with the platform? Cinchik was pretty rapid in quarterfinal 1, but Casabon's got some work to do. 6th and on the bubble. Puts De Jong down to 7th. Here's the face Porsche of Lucas Müller. Tim Yarshell provisionally through, let's remember. Ooh, that was a weird moment through the final corner. Now, does that cost him in time? 36.8. He's behind Johan Harth. Tim Yarshell, though, did have a qualifying penalty, and so started from the back. Still worked on forward to 6th. By no means is a bad qualifying performance here going to put you in a spot that you cannot work out of. It'll be Oscar Bixrud next. All the way to the grass. One of the youngest drivers in the series goes 8th. Behind De Jong. Pretty good benchmark there in terms of Porsche. But Bono House in the Mercedes starts down the back. Luke Bennett in the BMW for Team Redline starts up the front. A lot of fun. These Hyperpole qualifying sessions. Great job from Jack Heathley as well. Best of the Mercedes, best of the non-BMWs as well. Moritz Lohner in front of Thibaut Casabon. 2 Audis, 5th and 6th positions on row 3. We go a little bit faster in qualifying after Marcel Cinchik threw the gauntlet down with the 36 flat. 35.939. Luke Bennett, our championship leader, showing everyone why he is potentially the driver to beat. Heading off in towards Munich. He trundles towards the line and brings himself around. So hello everyone. Who was your prediction for who was going to get pole for quarterfinal number 2? The question is now, who is going to advance to the semi-finals for the final time? These drivers get that opportunity. In terms of the drivers that finished outside of the top 6, De Jong is inside the top 24. Bixrud is not. Johan Harth is not. Lucas Müller is not. Victor Veloso is not. Bono House is Oh, I forget where Bono House is off the top of my head. I'm going to actually have to go and look at that. Down in 33rd position, so he is another one that would also compete for the final time this spring. I will also just remind you, by the way, there we go. If you want delightful hoodies, you can head to armor.gg/collections/RaceSpot if you want 10% off. Graciously, we'll allow you to use the coupon code RaceSpot. And here, we also have some stuff in black if you don't like white. So here, let me just show you. Wait, oh no. Here, these are not permissible on a green screen, but if you like black t-shirts, and we do have them for you. We also have the Is Max in this split t-shirt, which is very important for tomorrow because Max Verstappen will be competing in the iRacing 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, and so just a reminder, 10% off. Use the coupon code RaceSpot. Ready to go in a moment for quarterfinal number 2. This is going to be a lot of fun as well because of how much carnage we saw in the first one. And the fact that we haven't got any race control decisions, I think slightly means that the drivers are in the unknown as to what is permissible here today. And when they don't know what is permissible, they are always going to push the boundaries until they are told to reel it on in. And so the more that gets a little bit away, the more the drivers get away with, the more that we're potentially going to see in terms of drama out on the track. And that's where we, as at least fans, always tend to enjoy things. How am I not sweating uncomfortably? It's a good question. I did that for way too long, and I'm glad that now I have all those layers out. I hope that was fun, because boy was it hot. There is the Furia BMW with its VRS logo on the front. One thing that I'm curious about for the fall season, summer season, whatever we call it, is new teams. Do any of these teams not return? Is there relegation? Is there promotion? Do we have that sort of a system? It'd be great to have a Altus Esports, a Pure Sims, so many teams. I don't want to, leave any out, but there are so many cool teams that would be nice to have them be part of the series. Maybe a promotion relegation bracket would be quite fun. Anyway, that's all for the future. It's the here and present, though, that sees the cars gridded up and getting focused up towards those lights. Quarterfinal 2, getting ready to rumble. Jack Keithley goes nowhere. He's going to bog down. Moritz Lohner already alongside, and now side by side for third position. Move attempted by Thibaut Casabon as well. Mitchell de Jong up the inside of Keithley's Mercedes-AMG Williams Esports car. Slow start has cost him dear. De Jong tries to go to the inside. Casabon covers him off. Out of turn number 2. They're going to fly their way on through. Keithley's gone from 3rd to 6th in the blink of an eye. It's Bennett from Murphy, from Naujoks, from Lohner, your top 4. There's a look at the battle just outside of the transfer spots as once again, this time it's de Jong that gets aggressive all the way to the line, not allowing Johan Harth any tarmac whatsoever. He's going to have to now compromise himself as Veloso bullies the Frenchman off the track. The 2020 iRacing Rallycross World Champion knows a good thing about being off the track, as does Mitchell de Jong, an X Games champion in the real world. But these cars and the tires that they're on, not necessarily designed to be running on the grass. De Jong still alongside his former teammate in Oscar Bixrud. These, though, positions outside of the top 6. Outside will become inside if Bixrud can hold this. And what a wonderful move from a young driver. Showing a wily old head there to hold off the challenge and hold on to the position. We'll come to the end of lap number 1 with Jack Keithley heading off to pit lane. Was it a jump start from the Mercedes-AMG Williams Esports driver? He doesn't even get the chance to show us the speed that we know he's got. It means that Bixrud now holds a spot in the semi-final, dangling it in front of a driver that needs to get up to make sure he's comfortable to advance to Munich. Behind them as well, don't forget you've got Victor Veloso. You've got Johan Harth, you've got Bono House. Lucas Muller had a bit of an issue that's seen him drop well down the running order. Didn't really pick up where that came from, but unfortunate for him. Into the hairpin once again. No moves attempted. Work their way off the corner. Why is this race more calm than the previous one? Confirmation, by the way, drive-through was for Jack Keithley. It was a jump start, and that's why he quote-unquote bogged down. I think the bogging down was him just trying to hope that the system wouldn't penalize him. Sebastian Job got caught out by that in the finals a couple of rounds ago. Here's De Jong. Through Mobile 1. You can see that there's a bit of AstroTurf before you get to the curb. And we're going to talk about it very quickly because Laguna Seca has been ruined. And they ruined the best corner on the track as well. Or the best corners. Everyone says it's the corkscrew. No. Yes, the corkscrew is fun, it's famous, it's flashy, but it's not the best corner on that track, and it's not the scariest corner on that track. Scariest corner is the corner before the corkscrew. The charm of Laguna Seca as well was its lack of runoff, its unforgiving nature. It was definitely not a charm having the noise decibel limits that we have. Don't get Sadekis started about that one. He's quite right in the ranting that he would do, but it's more just the fact that he would never stop that I'm saying don't get him started. Lap 3 again, nothing into the hairpin. So, let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the start of the race. If Keithley did jump start, I don't really see it. Like maybe it's the clutch being released and him like springing forward, but I don't see that. It's really hard from that angle that we got. So then in through the hairpin. I think at this point Keithley probably knew that he was going to have to come down pit lane, and so not surprised that he wasn't fighting too hard with anyone. It was Mixrud that saw De Jong trying to go to his inside. Didn't probably see Johan Harth trying to also do the same. And then Harth getting bullied by Veloso off the corner. And so that was really all the drama on the opening lap. Word is apparently that it was a jump before they even got the lights going. So for Jack Keithley, that was something that there was nothing he could do. It was always going to be an infringement. Let's see if we can take a look. Just so focus in on Keithley and Keithley alone. Ignore Dame Baird and Cam Roger doing their wizardry to get the broadcast ready. Just watch the Williams Esports Mercedes. Yeah, oh, there you go. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's a slam dunk. That's about as obvious a slam dunk as I've seen as well. So Jack Keithley back out on track in 12th position. Lucas Muller, after I think an issue for him, has started to close slightly to Johan Harth, but they are stretching out. Oscar Bichterud has the mirrors filled with Mitchell de Jong, yes. Outside of that, there's not much going on. BMW still looking strong, but Luke Bennett hasn't been able to break away the same way that Marcel Cinchik was able to do. That was a really impressive performance from him. Almost halfway through the second quarterfinal as well. Let's talk about some of the comments that I've seen in our YouTube chat over the course of the season. A couple of things about damage models and whatnot, for a game, a simulator in progress, you know, things will improve. We've had some interesting discussions about tracks. And again, I'll go back to this point that we have 3 tracks that we're using this season. We're bouncing between Spa, the Nürburgring, and over here at the Hockenheimring. Seen a lot of complaints as well that it's just GT3 cars. What would you guys like to see? Not just for ESL R1, because I think that's a slightly different story. What cars do people want to be driving when they're in simulators? What tracks do you guys want to have? I think everyone will agree that there's going to be room on both sides of the spectrum. There's going to be people that want to be sim racers, that want to be here at the Hockenheimring, that want to go to the Nordschleife, go to Bathurst, Macau, Sugo, whatever you want. And then there's going to be people that say, you know what, I just want to go to Goodwood, somewhere that, of course, Rennsport has already showcased some various images and whatnot from. I want to go do a California Coast Highway. I want to go do a Tog in Tokyo, whatever the case may be. I think you get what I mean. It's not just about sim racing. It's like, let's go and just chill. Let's go and have a nice, relaxed little driving session, you know. I know Marco Barbanera and George Simmons want TCR, but sorry, guys. Front-wheel drive is terrible. And now I'm going to run away from RaceSpotTV and never be seen again. Here comes Lohner, though. Niels Nijhoks cold shoulders the Audi of Maus Esport. There goes De Jong, though. And Bikstrud couldn't really do much. That was a really interesting pass. The block pass in some ways there by Mitchell de Jong. Is that some of his rallycross and oval racing experience bearing fruit? Definitely seemed like it. Check out all the way out of turns 2 and 3. I'm in trouble for my comments about front-wheel drive, not just because of the chat, but because if Paul Smith ever hears this, I'll never be allowed on RaceSpotTV again. So this was half-hearted from Moritz Lohner. He did go a little bit deep into the corner, but de Jong is alongside, and Bikstrud effectively gave him the place. The camera angle's a bit weird, but it is a block pass from de Jong there. He forces his way on through. Really interesting little pass there for a driver that, if he worked on to the semi-finals, I think we're guaranteed to see him come Munich, which is a remarkable turnaround, given that for Mitchell de Jong, it was 2 semi-finals in the first 6 rounds, no final appearances at all. So yes. And I will just cover myself, by the way, by saying that if you're here to tell me that there's a certain that BTCC is great racing, which yes it is. Not all BTCC cars are front-wheel drive. So yes, I do wish that we could actually have a proper TCR rear-wheel drive car, because I think that would be an interesting contrast. I'm quite curious about the ETCR cars. I know that, you know, there have been some issues in testing. Bruno Spengler had, you know, his humongous crash back at Vallenega. Was it mid last year, testing that ETCR machine? Fortunately, he's recovered, has gone off racing in Japan in Super GT in a BMW M4 GT3 car. And if you did not see the pre-race festivities that Bruno Spengler got to enjoy in his first race of the year over in DTM, the clip on social media is amazing. Cannot recommend it highly enough. So 3 laps left to run. Still Bennett leads from Murphy, but no real breakaways forming here. Now Nijhoks, Lohner, Casabon, and de Jong. Shout out to Thibaut Casabon, 2nd round in the championship. He's going to make it on out of this quarterfinal, which is exactly what RAG Esports wanted, let's not forget. For RAG, I think they're really looking today and on Monday at trying to close in the battle in the team championship. Close battle as Lohner finally gets to the inside of Niels Nijhoks. Just watch as on corner exit, Lona does a great job of positioning the car and rolling their way on through. Marco Barbanera says he wants GT500 cars. I say please, please, please to that. That would be great. Class 1 in general, I think I'd be down for that. I don't know if I really ever want to condone the GT3 Prius becoming a thing. The BRZ with the WRC engine is quite interesting, though, as Victor Veloso, Bono House side by side into Mobile 1. This for 8th position, and they're losing track of Bickford in front as Bono House gets shoved off into the kitty litter. Basically bragging rights right now. Veloso's going to, I think, let House go back through, given that he forced him off the track. All that does is detach them even further from the cars in front with 2 laps left to run. If anyone's listening, I also would like a full WRC simulator. Like, I mean, when I see simulator as well, I mean hardcore sim. I want 60-kilometer stages. I want all the good stuff. I want to enjoy myself in a rally car. You know how the iRacing curse is the thing? For those that don't know it, it's where iRacing will scan something and then weeks, months later, that thing will be closed, no longer race in the real world, whatever the case will be, as Casabon's going to be the next to try and go on Naujox. He's falling off in his BMW. This is a interesting turn of speed for Naujox, as it's allowing De Jong to get a little bit closer, might allow Bickford to get a little bit closer as well. Ends up being no shakearounds whatsoever. Interesting complexion. But yeah, the iRacing curse, when iRacing scans something and then it ends up not being thing in the real world. Not sure if anyone has ever heard of the Mount Washington Auto Road. It's a hill climb event in the U.S. that Travis Pastrana has run with the Subaru U.S. racing team on a number of occasions. And so in his preparation a couple of years ago, iRacing scanned Mount Washington. Weather in the early parts of 2023 have meant that the road is no longer a road anyway. That's the best way to say it. People saying that the iRacing curse has existed with LMP3s. That was the natural course of modern endurance prototype racing. DPIs were dying off. We needed a stopgap while we were waiting for the next generation, for the hypercars, for the LMDH GTPs to be ready to go racing. And so once the manufacturers had made, for the most part, pulled out of LMP1 as well as DPI, there were still some privateer teams, continuing. LMP2 and LMP3 came in to stopgap and fill up the field sizes, and now that we've got a healthy top-level prototype class, more importantly, the fact that we've got a stacked GT3 field as well, looks quite fun. Is interesting as well, with thoughts of Le Mans with the LMGT3, the fact that they're already talking about manufacturer limits and having maybe 2 representatives per manufacturer. GT3 is a customer racing class, let's not forget. It's going to be GT3 AM, effectively, for the WEC. That's part of what that class is all about. And so, very, very curious to see how the poor manufacturers now have to decide which of their customers they're going to decide competes in their stead. The 2-car limit set in place because the WEC has limits to how many cars they can hold through the regular season. Of course, Le Mans gets a slightly bigger entry list, but politics is what it sounds like to me. No politics on the track here, though. It's just been wheel-to-wheel close fighting. Marcel Chinchik ran away almost 3 seconds clear in previous quarterfinal action today. A lot closer at the front, but it's a similar sight in the form of pole position to victory. It's Luke Bennett in the BMW Team Redline car that's going to work his way to the line. Behind him, Eamon Murphy, and then Moritz Lohner, who got very close in the closing stages. Naujox, Casabon, and De Jong will all advance. We say goodbye, not just today, but for the spring season, to Oscar Bickford, to Bono House, to Victor Veloso, Lucas Muller, to Jack Keithley, and to Johan Harth. There is the Apex Racing Team driver of Johan Harth. His Apex Racing stablemate of Owen Carroll says LMDH field better than GT3 field. Owen, does that mean that we're not going to see you tomorrow in the iRacing Nürburgring 24 hours? Are you too scared for the green hell, or are you too scared for a GT3 car? Which one is it? I'll let you answer that one. tease a couple of these drivers in the chat. Here's a look at those results, though, as we get ready to cycle our way halfway through quarterfinal action in round number 8. Luke Bennett from Eamon Murphy at the front, while Moritz Lohner already was set to advance to Munich, but what he does is show a turn of speed that will encourage him to accumulate a couple more points come Monday, when he will be the one trying to make sure that he is in a great spot heading into the Spring Major. Shout out as well to Niels Naujonks for holding on and bouncing back after a couple of difficult weeks. Thibaut Casabon as well, just the second round that we've seen him in the competition. He's into his very first semi-final. Mitchell de Jong does just enough. Came into this round 19th in points. That should be good enough to see him advance to Munich, but it's still a long road to go before we have any sort of confirmation on that one. The drivers that we do know will miss out, the likes of Oscar Bixrud, Bono House, Victor Veloso, 7th, 8th, and then 9th positions. We then head into a couple of drivers that ended up having some issues, the likes of Lucas Muller. Jack Heathley with his jump start does not finish last. That, unfortunately, is Johan Harth, as the Apex Racing team are now 2 for 2 in terms of missing out here today. So we have now a little bit of a break before quarterfinal number 3, which is on deck. And so we are waiting for maybe some penalties to come on through. That's again something I'm going to just bring up here. The fact that we have not seen much out of race control. The expectations for the drivers still maybe not laid down, which means that as we head into the next 2 races on the docket, it does mean that we are potentially going to see a little bit more drama. So 2 quarterfinals in the books. We're going to step aside for a couple of moments here on RaceSpotTV because we've still got 2 more quarterfinals to go, and you don't need to hear me blabbering around for any longer. So if you joined us at the start, we caught up with some of the recaps of what happened the very first time that we went racing, the last time that we went racing in round number 7. We're going to throw things back to the very first time that we went racing. Let's go back and relive the start of this journey 90 days ago.
The very first race is underway. Rietveld will lead from pole position. Marcel Cinchik alongside Fluke with a poor start. He's going to drop behind Dennis Schoeniger, who's already gone up into 3rd. Side by side in the background, you've got Yuri Kasdorp there attacking Joni Tormela, and Baptista sat behind as they all await to go single file. But Baptista's taking it too wide up through O'Rourke.
A rocket of an opening lap. We got them all clustering further back as well, as they're now looking to rise up through the Mercedes is on as well. Goodness me, Bono Hoos spinning it, heading through the Camel Straight, and that car now will fall to the back. No damage at this point, but he can rejoin, but it's going to be such a mountain to climb.
Backham's going for a spin as well. He's just been edged off ever so slightly from Felipe Baptista as they head through the final parts of Lake Como. Crazy start to this race.
And here we have a replay.
Bonnerhouse was pushed off the road in the Mercedes, and it was just chaos.
Yeah, Baptista now down the inside as they go side by side into the bus stop chicane. Baptista now moves up into 8th place. Barneveld now up into 7th. We've got Garner now into 6th. He is now going through the semis.
He knows he needs to get on with it before we reach the halfway point of this race. He's going around the outside of La Source, but he's going to lose a position as well as Mac Backham sneaks his way through. Rietveld, though, looking to be the first driver to make history in Katowice here, as he'll come round the final section of corners, and Team Redline, Jeffrey Rietveld, will win the first ever race on Rennsport. What a drive from Jeffrey Rietveld. Marcel Cinchik, Jamie Fleek behind.
And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Dave Warren gets away well as they head down towards the source. You can see the RAG team trying to find their way through, but leading through turn 1 in the source, and Mouse also creeping through. Dave Warren a little slow out of turn 1, and now the Mouse car takes the lead of the race.
Up towards Lake Com, here comes Warren again.
But now streaking through, Dane Warren looking to rub shoulders there.
Here comes Lerner though, straight back down the inside into Ravage.
They've been rubbing shoulders since the start. Gravel trap for Lerner. Lerner off the track, and now he's reduced to 4th place. But Warren isn't out of it yet. We've got to fight for the lead as we're now seeing Robbie Stapleford, the man who has come here, certainly full of venom. G2 take the lead as they go nose to tail. He took the initiative. He slipped it through the inside on lap 1 and was able to take the advantage, the early advantage, but it all came undone through the middle sector.
Yeah, I get the feeling there might have been contact front to rear then with the Mouse driver of Lerner getting into the rear end. We didn't see that with Fury having an issue at Lake Com.
We just saw Moritz Lerner deep dive through Brachels. The car can get a little unsteady if you ride that curb on the inside as well. Very easy to oversteer, but Moritz Lerner, so much experience in this man.
Well, the stapler has hit the front. Here he goes. Robbie Stapleford leading from Warren. We've had 3 different leaders already as Kevin Ellis Jr. is having issues outside of the all-important top 6. He's got down the inside Jakub Brzezinski. And it's Race Mercedes.
Oh, it's that again. Certainly now you can see Dane Warren. Oh no! Big moment. Dane Warren is round. The man who was leading at the very start took pole. He's at risk of going out.
And he has gone out.
He's out. He's off the track. Warren reduced towards the back end of the field, and he's got a penalty.
We'll take a look though at the replay as to what happened. So we see the red line car backing off. Warren straight down the inside. He makes contact with the stapler, and he is the one sent around. Apex comes through, but watch this. All importantly, as he got back going and he made contact with Williams Esports and went again.
Was the move too late?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there we go. Yeah, Luke Bennett now down the inside of Robbie Stapleford, who has done so well to lead this race, but not fighting it, Luke Bennett. Stapleford now is down in a second. Bennett takes the lead. Here is Spa-Francorchamps. It's 2 from 2 for Team Redline. Luke Bennett wins here at Spa-Francorchamps. We got Lerner in second place. He takes that. Robbie Stapleford in third.
Is it going to be a good start on the race? Yes, it is from Benneker. It's a poor one though from RAG, who's going to drop back and get swallowed by the mid-pack. Williams once again with a great race start, but look at that, Baldwin around the outside attacking for the race leaders. They head down the hill once again though with that ball run around the outside. He's going to lose out to Wisniewski.
We got another big moment here. Eamon Murphy looking to try and get through past Mitchell de Jong as they head through this next right now. De Jong able to hold on as they exit Malmedy now, enter through Malmedy. Eamon Murphy though, bigger problems because here comes Kevin Siggy squirming all over the rear as they cruise through Brachel's corner, hanging it around the outside. Kevin Siggy looking for every opportunity.
We'll take a look at what happened though to Eamon Murphy before I waffle on too much. Up over the top. Now that to me, from that angle, looked like a solo area. He was pushing hard to keep Siggy behind. And here he comes through the final corner to take victory in quarter-final 3. A super drive, a dominant drive. And welcome to Max Beneke. He's done a couple of races for them before, but here on Rennsport, he takes top honours. Wisniewski behind, Baldwin behind, Toman, Nyox and Berryman.
And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Joshua Rogers gets away very well, lightning start, but joining him, Enzo Benito, outside line, looking to try and take it at the very beginning, as there they work their way through La Source, further back, Mouse looking to fight through as well. We got RAG further back. You see Patrick Holzman in third, trying to muscle his way through further back as well. But I think we got Hearth there in the mix as well, with Rainer Talbot bullying each other there on the side. An aggressive return on track. I don't know how he missed the other cars there, but Dare McCormack, he recovered that very well. This was the moment with Dare McCormack rubbing wheel to wheel with the BMW. They went side by side. Merck and Beaver, you called it there, Lewis McGlade, onto the gravel trap.
Yeah, I kind of feel that McCormack might have pushed Rainer Talvar out through the final part of Lake Com.
We got a move here. Johan Haaf, who's been chasing after Risto Capet, now heading through towards Lake Com. Still side by side. The RAG driver has to give the position. Johan Haaf, brilliant. This is the battle we want to see. Oh, the switchback, beautiful from Isaac Price. What a statement here, and has managed to make his way into the top 6. And if it stays like this, that's qualification. Talvar now suffering. In comes Graham Carroll, outside line into Brachel's corner. The Merc goes hunting, looks down the inside, can't find a way through. Talvar holds on to 7th place. So this was it, folks. The amazing switchback. It looked like he was just going to give the position up. Obviously, Isaac Price looking to the outside line, heading into Lake Com in hope that it would obviously give him the Tiger line heading through Malmedy, cutting back through. He certainly did. And then the switchback there, once again dueling through this next section of Lake Com, but they'll have to go through Malmedy. Graham Carroll with the upper hand, I think, but no, still side by side. Incredible! Oh! But obviously, there wasn't a lot of room to play with, and I'd imagine that will be reviewed at the steward's desk. But here's the big moment, of course, dipping into the gravel trap, and we know that is Oversteer City, folks. Graham Carroll then ending up into the barrier. Josh Rogers, he will win the Spa race here, the final quarter-final here in this cracking event. Sensational drive from Josh Rogers, dominant performance. Enzo Benito, he'll come up to the line as well in second place for Team Redline. Yet another one for them with Johan Haaf in third place.
First of 2 semi-finals here in ESL R1. We're racing at Spa, we are underway, and for R8G it's not a particularly good launch as Marcel Chinching's got down the inside of his teammates. Are going to be contact between the two? No, there isn't. It's Audi R8's 1, 2 and 3 as we power our way down the hill. Moritz Lerner with the advantage, R8G back to single file.
And again, a late move here. He's going to tuck it up the inside through Lefanier as they make their way through now. Out of this next section, is he going to hold on? Giassi still looking for a way through, off onto the gravel trap, and that's Kost Schrodinger. Gala moves up into 11th place.
Yeah, QF1 winner, Jeffrey Rietveld sat in 9th. He'll want to move forward. Defensive move taken by Kevin Ellis Jr. Let's look into the outside. Yoni Turmela's going for it, and he's made it stick. What a super move for G2 Esports.
Yoni Turmela has certainly been taking some notes out of his copybook, but it's not over yet. Look at this now, Kevin Ellis Jr. looking to fight back. Oh, the rear end being lost there from Yoni Turmela. This is the moment.
Let's see what happens to Turmela then. So he's got his teammate directly behind him in Robbie Stapleford. Stapleford looks down the inside now, he's overcooked it. He's gone.
Yeah, very late on the brakes in the bus stop then. That's what cost him, but obviously that's technically a cut course violation, so I suppose he's got to give the time back.
Moritz Lerner comes across the line and books in place into the final with the best result possible. Chinching, Yuyovski, Bennett, Fluke.
We're about to go green here in this final semi-final race. All 5 lights are lit. And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Yuri Toman getting away well. Mouse certainly looking to try and make a charge. You see that Maximilian Beneke trying to find his way through too as they weird through La Source curve. Yuri Toman out in front. Beneke sits in second alongside Johan Harth. Wisniewski, they're further down as well in fourth with Holzman in fifth. Mouse now currently second and fifth. They're both qualifying into the final. Should it stay like this? But coming through Rouge and Radion. Toman on top. Beneke holds on to second.
Isaac Price having a massive moment with Niels Nyox as well. They're both going to lose out as James Baldwin's going to make his way through. It was a costly error, not 100% sure what happened, but it was certainly side by side between the two. And here comes Risto, Cabin involved in the mix. Look at Baldwin to the inside of Isaac Price. It's all kicking off down the order because they're desperate to move forward. There is Baldwin through, but is Cabin going to make the move? No, he's not.
Noah's Ark heading through Lecom and now through Malmedy, but look at that, Baldwin managing to move himself up into 8th. Isaac Price did not take that too kindly. Outside line through Bruchelles. The Mercedes with the Tiger line looking to try and hold on, at least for now, as it now wheel through. Oh, goodness me, Isaac Price. Major moment there when he came together with Niels Nyox, heading through now the Jackie X curve. Josh Rogers might choose to go for a tactical overtake here just to help his cause. Down the outside at bus stop, now inside line for Holzman, sneaking through though. Brilliant move, and certainly now it will be Josh Rogers up into 5th place.
Holzman's trying to fight back, a bit of a squeeze. Baldwin down the inside though. He's set in. Holzman's gone round. Holzman sent for Mouse, and that is a big drama. Baldwin making it 3 wide, and he's still dragging it there with Benito, side by side to Eau Rouge.
Yeah, Baldwin now still remains in the fight for this P6 as well. Further back, well, this case it's 7th spot. Here comes Isaac Price. Oh no! Baldwin now in the top 6. I tell you what, I saw it coming. This top 6 fight is sensational.
We'll take a look at the replay at the start.
And we do have an update. James Baldwin, 5-second slowdown due to causing a collision at turn 1.
This was just absolutely crazy. Confirmation of that penalty. We'll see it once again when we go back to the live pictures, looking at some of the replays. That's what happened to Risto, Capit and Peter Berryman, and sent Berryman down the road. A lot of replays to deal with. Connery Maddox been very busy at the start of this race, and that was where Baldwin sent it down the inside and obviously cost Holtzman.
Obviously Patrick Holtzman could do nothing about that, and in came as well, I believe that was James Baldwin up the inside. Here comes James Baldwin, side by side with Niels Nyox, contact as well, heading a bus stop. A major moment here in lap 6 of 9.
Whoa, here we go.
Yeah, certainly now Patrick Holtzman side by side through Eau Rouge and Radion now. Capit still together as they now head up through the Camel Straight, side by side as they now head up towards Lake Com. They remain still side by side as the Mouse car certainly looks at the RAG alongside it. Capit looking to go full send in towards this Lake Com corner. Contact as they make their way through. They rub wheels, but it will be Holtzman to the top. You know, never a more picturesque overtake than at this point at Spa-Francorchamps, but you've got to give credit to Holtzman. Late on the brakes, Tiger line heading through Lake Com. He made use of it, got the nose in front. Yuri Toman wins the 2nd semi-final for RAG. Mouse celebrates. Max Beneke also goes through. Johan Harth in 3rd.
It is final time in ESL R1. Let's take it to the start. Beneke with a great launch from the front row. Yuri Toman, there's contact already as Moritz Lerner, and that was a spin for one of the RAGs. I think it might be Chinchik, but there is a spin already, and drama before we've even taken a start. It was actually a Yovski. Oh my goodness.
Look at the run here from Moritz Lerner down in 4th place, immediately looking to try and tackle Marcel Chinchik as they make their way up through Kemmel. You can see as well Yuri Toman in front, also trying to provide a defensive barrier. Look at Josh Rogers there as well, looking to try and challenge for that 5th place, looking to try and use Johan Half. A mistake, he's gone squarely through Malmedy. He stays in 6th.
Another replay of the race start, but it was all about that start from Beneke, and that's what happened to Yovski. That's why Lerner got that penalty. It was a massive hip check on the side. I did wonder if it was Lerner at fault.
It did look that way. I mean, there was nothing that Jajovski could do. They got the start, nothing wrong with his start. Obviously, the instant tap. You see the contact there on the left-hand side.
Lerner's penalty there, 5 seconds slowdown due to causing a collision. And now he's down to 8th. It says Rogers. He's going for something. He's trying to get past Johan. He's got the inside of Malmedy. This could end in drama.
We can see that we got Lerner, I think, further back. Just look at Isaac Price coming into this. A switch back. It's Rogers. Rogers has moved up. Isaac Price also looking to take the advantage as well. Johan Half fighting back as they enter the Jackie X curve. The G2 Esports car, though, could not quite get through. The Chill Blast Williams livery now squeezing to the outside now as they head through towards Lane Com. Enter the fray. Moritz Lerner as well. Outside line, they make contact now on the outset of Lane Com. Heading through towards Malmedy. Still side by side. Price with the muscle. Mr. Muscle. Here comes Moritz Lerner.
Yeah, I think Bennett might come through as well. It could be a mistake, but look at this as well. Ellis Jr. is looking for that down the inside. Absolutely insane. Moritz Lerner down the inside of Nikodem Vishnevsky. Bennett to the outside coming down towards the X curve. Falls back into line, but Vishnevsky absolutely on the limit there.
Bennett just has enough there to hold off the assault, but in comes now Lerner on Half as well. Isaac Price obviously given the penalty now as they round Brachel's corner. Here comes Price. Price sneaking it up the inside. Can't quite find it, but still Half remains in 6th.
The final chicane beckons, and history is about to be made as Max Beneke wins the very first round of ESL R1, and you can see how much that means. Absolutely incredible.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to RaceSpotTV. What a fun opening journey, start to the journey that this was 90 days ago when we got underway for ESL R1. The first time that we saw racing here on Rennsport, Max Beneke coming out on top. We now head, though, off towards quarterfinal number 3. Guess who's out and getting ready to go racing? It's the one, the only Maximilian Beneke. Let's very quickly, though, run you down through results for quarterfinal number 2 if you're just joining us, so we can get you geared up and ready to go for quarterfinal number 3. It's how we finished after the 10 laps of racing action. Luke Bennett, our championship leader, continues to be the man to beat. Murphy, Lohner, Naujoks, Kazabon, De Jong, the rest of the top 6 that work their way on forward. Unfortunately, we say goodbye, not just today and not just for round 8, but also for the Spring Major to those behind. The likes of Bixford, Bono House, Victor Veloso, Lucas Muller, Jack Keithley, as well as Johan Harth. So, as that's the look for quarterfinal number 2, question we now have to talk about is who's going to grab pole position in quarterfinal number 3, because they're getting ready to go qualifying in just a few moments' time. And qualifying for this, we saw how little passing there ended up being in quarterfinal number 2. I think this is actually going to be somewhat important. So, as we take a look at the lineup, you can see there are 7 drivers already locked and confirmed for Munich. Their task today, stay out of trouble, and most importantly, I think they're going to also be wanting to just get as many points as they can on the board to leave themselves in a good situation. The likes of Rogers, Toman, and Beneke know that day 1 is all about staying in the top 12. We remove 12 drivers after day 1, we reset the points, and then things get even more crazy after that. So for Marko Pejic, a victory would see him close on Josh Rogers, make his life come day 1 of the Spring Major just that little bit easier. For the likes of Brzezinski and Osgard, even for Lasse Sorensen, outside chance for looking in for the Fury Esports car. But for Jakub Brzezinski, who comes into this one 18th in points, just needs a solid point haul to stay out of trouble and to make sure that he is in contention come the end of the day. Let's continue our dive down through the teams then as we get ready to go for this qualifying session. Here's a look at the Mercedes AMD Petronas squad. Baldwin, Carroll, House, and Pejic. What a stacked lineup that is. Baldwin and Pejic One locked in, one that is on the cusp of being locked in. We see Page get his chance here in quarterfinal number 3. Bono House and then Graham Carroll. Not being the easiest season for them. We've already said goodbye to Bono House. We might unfortunately end up saying goodbye to Graham Carroll as well. From the Mercedes-AMG Petronas team, we will talk about one of those new names to sim racing, but one that has definitely entered and looks like they're not just here to make up the numbers in ESL R1. They may be branching out outside. Benecke, Holtzman, Kastorp, and Lohner. In my mind, this was the strongest lineup coming into the competition. Maybe I put Porsche Command up there as well. I know it's a very hard thing to say. Every team is pretty stacked. Holtzman's just not being able to fire off consistently, maybe getting himself in trouble a little bit. Kastorp is also one that is going to be in a spot where he needs a good points haul today. For Lohner and Benecke, they're locked and loaded. It's looking comfortable for them. One final team to talk about, at least right now, as the Porsche Coanda Esports team. Unfortunately, Dane Warren not going to be part of the Spring Major. Very, very close. Was starting to get his groove in the closing stages. Contact, no fault of his own, ends up taking him out. For Backham, for De Jong, they've got to fight today. For Rogers, second, he knows he's going to have a great opportunity to just fight him, be in a great spot come day one. And remember, we have 7 of the 15 confirmed major spots in this quarterfinal. I think it's 14 confirmed major spots, I thought. Maybe Dame Baird getting me slightly confused. So I think that we are underway for qualifying right now, I believe. Again, do remember that you can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to the RaceSpot mobile app. Head to the Apple App Store to Google Play and download a updated app as well that features a couple new things that you can play your way through. It's always useful for us as well. You can see the results of previous rounds as well. And so indeed I can confirm we're in qualifying. My name's Arjuna Kankipati, if you weren't aware. Delighted to have your company here on RaceSpotTV. And not just because I'm by myself, but because it's been a really interesting competition, a new start to something. And so that's where we've enjoyed just sharing the experience with you. Slightly different broadcast to what we would normally do. And so a little bit more casual, a little bit more relaxed. Niels Najoks, by the way, apparently has not done much Rennsport racing this past week. It's still enough for him, apparently, to advance on forward. But apparently 27 minutes heading into today. All he needed. So I'm going to go back and look. Dane Baird says that on social media they said it was 15 spots, but Dane, I'm going to show you a tweet where they said 14 spots, and I'm going to say you're wrong. So can you send me the tweet where they said 15? Because maybe I missed that tweet. Because it's very likely. Page with a 36.128. Josh Rogers, king of qualifying, at least usually, not so far. Here's Joni Tormala. In the G2 BMW with Eamon Murphy and Sebastian Job already through. Dane is always wrong, to be fair. Yes, I agree, Luis. That's for sure. Joni Tormala within 3,000ths of Rogers, within 300ths of Page. These are those margins in qualifying. Here's Kevin Siggy. With Redline seeing Benito out, the last thing they'll want is for someone else to falter. They need some support for Luke Bennett to avoid R8G closing in the team championship. 36.267 for Siggy, 10th and a half off. Next up, Ryan Barneveld in the BMW BS competition. Zebra. The Dutch driver powers out of the final corner. Has made a couple of semi-finals so far this year. No final appearances so far, though. Can Niels Najoks have a fellow Zebra in the herd in semi-final action? It's going to be a tough order. 3.5 tenths off. So next up, Benecke, then Brzezinski, Osgaard, and Toman. Still get Lasse Sorensen, Kevin Ellis Jr., and then Ulas Ozildirim to finish up. I have not been made aware of any qualifying suspensions for this quarterfinal. So try and hopefully see all the drivers across the line with proper lap times. Beneka bounces over the curb in the final corner. And to the line with a 36.231. He's within a tenth of Page. Jumps to the outside of the second row. Maybe it's inside of the second row technically here, because I think pole starts on the left. There's the Mercedes AMG Williams eSports car. Going to see a couple of these machines out tomorrow in the iRacing Nürburgring 24 hours. And the Williams eSports cars will have some special liveries denoting 5 years of Williams eSports competition. Can Jakub Brzezinski, Dara McCormack, who's already through as well. Delight for Williams on the 5-year anniversary. Jakub Brzezinski up to 4th, displaces Beneka. Next up in queue is Tommy Osgaard, who comes into this one as the bubble driver. He's in 24th position. He's tied on 81 points with Jamie Fluke and Dane Warren, so the margins are close. Tumas Tattler's advanced on forward. And Tommy Osgaard goes to pole, a 136.083. Flying Porsches, Osgaard and Rogers 1 and 3. Here comes Oswald Dirham in that FaZe Clan car. Now remember, Thibaut Casbon has already advanced. And Oswald Dirham fight on forward as well. He's been the best of the FaZe drivers over the season. That looks like he may have had a slowdown though. Definitely going to be into the 37s. So we are confused whether it's 14 or 15 that have advanced already to the Spring Major. ESL social media has posted both. And I say you never trust a commentator's math, so I'm not going to... 14 or 15 drivers, I said 13 and 14 by mistake, sorry. Yeah, I'm not jumping into that with a 10-foot pole, because I probably would be wrong as well with the championship situation. Kevin Ellis Jr. qualifies best of the Apex Racing Team drivers so far. He is inside of the top 6. Master Sorensen. Sounded like he needed a couple of stabs on the throttle to get the car turned and rolling. And so the Dane to the line with a 36.5, slowest of the proper lap times, but faster than Oswald Dirham, so will not start last. And Yuri Toman is our final car that we expect. A driver that led the championship for a handful of rounds. I slipped backwards with some struggles in the quarterfinals. Cannot afford that today for R8G as a team. Chinchik won his heat. A quarterfinal, excuse me. Casabon got 5th. Toman, how does he go in qualifying? He goes 2nd. Within 400ths of Osgaard, who does enough to grab pole. Some impressive stuff there. And Tommy Osgaard. Hopefully we'll get the chance to chat with him at the end of this one. If Tommy gets out of the quarterfinal, I feel pretty confident that he would make it to the Spring Major. But again, it all depends on who else has already made it through as well. That's part of the story that we're kind of trying to piece together. Hello everyone, welcome back into the RaceSpotTV studio. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Did you think it was going to be qualifying going in that direction? Did you think Tommy Osgaard was going to come out on top? Did you think it was going to be a Porsche that's come out on top? Because now in qualifying we've had an Audi, a BMW and a Porsche. Just missing a Mercedes. Maybe that will be at the very end of it. Remember, 7 of the 12 drivers in this race have already qualified and locked themselves in for the Spring Major, so they are trying to accumulate points. There are plenty of other drivers that want to try and assure themselves of a spot in the Spring Major, but there's 2 different battles almost kind of going on right now, and so we've got to very much keep that in mind. Maybe we're not completely clear on that calculation as well on how many drivers are even locked and loaded in, so there could be question marks there. Never trust my math, and I think we're figuring out never trust anyone's math. Trust but verify. Luca asking who did Kazabon replace. I believe, based on the last round, that it would have been Risto Caput, who I think is celebrating a birthday today, so happy birthday, Risto Caput. We'll find out. I see Erhan Yuyovsky lined up for the final quarterfinal, so yes, it will be Risto Caput that he has replaced. I've got way too much information on my screen down there. We're ready to rumble, though, and this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be an exciting one because of the fact that there's less jeopardy on the line, which means that I do think that we are going to see maybe a little bit looser of a race. I'm hoping that they'll get more entertaining because quarterfinal 2 did end up dragging on just a little bit. So here we go in practice, that warm-up session. How much carnage should we see maybe on lap 1 into the hairpin? He was going to be the instigator of said carnage. Not really sure about what to expect right now. And I like that sort of a nervousness, the tense feelings that we get. Remember that these drivers would head off to semi-final 2, quarterfinals 1 and 2 head off to semi-final 1. Practice comes to a close, and once again the drivers will get gridded up, turn their attention to the lights, and then one by one they'll light up, the engines will roar, and we'll go racing. Jack Keithley got the jump start last time by. Watch a little bit closer this time to see if anyone else is going to befall a similar situation. Once again though, GT3 cars sing out in symphony. Lights come up, ready to rumble for quarterfinal number 3, and away we go with an equal start through the field. They'll single file themselves out for the top 4. It is going to be a look to the inside though by that Williams Esports car as they funnel through that first corner. A couple of cars mounting the inside curb, but it is the opportunity for Brzezinski to get up the inside of Tormula into turn number 2. Behind them, Beneka sails up as Ellis Jr. tries to work around the outside. Tormula still got a little bit of overlap on Brzezinski, but the Williams Esports Mercedes should have a little bit more pull down this long run into the hairpin. And this is where we'll start to see those blocks. Draft being given by the Williams Esports car to Beneka. And as Brzezinski fans out to the inside, Beneka has to take the middle. And almost 3 wide into the corner we go. There was some bumper cars played. As a result, Tormula takes a bit of avoiding action. Sorensen and Barneveld leaning on each other at the very back of the field. You've got the Furia car of Sorensen up the inside. They'll try and go 3 wide with Ozil Dirim. It is Barneveld that has to back out of that one, though. Beneka's been able to move forward at the expense of Brzezinski. Where's Kevin Seege going to filter out in all of this? He's got Ellis Jr. behind him. In through Mobile 1, into Sachs. Still the battle rumbling behind. Ellis Jr. and Sorensen also going side by side and door to door. And that's Barneveld that will go around. Beneka goes wide as well. Beneka's locked in, but these are valuable points that maybe will slip away. Opportunity presented for Lasse Sorensen to go from the back to the front, or at least into the top 6. A little bit helter-skelter of a start, but fortunately once again it gets a little bit more into a rhythm. Back out onto the Parabolica there will go. And separation between the drivers. Don't necessarily think we're going to see too much aggression. Have to wait and see if they will end up being a bit calmer this time. Let's check back in, not with the race start, let's just go directly to this incident in towards this final sector. It was going to be Barneveld still battling with Ozil Dirim in through Sachs Curve. And then as Beneka tried to make the look on the likes of Brzezinski, we saw the aftermath of what happened to him. Let's see if we can maybe try and piece it together from the glimpses that we get. Not going to get another look, are we, at those cars in the foreground. We just see Beneka off, and that's already after Brzezinski slipped on back as well, so I'm not really sure what went on there. I've heard that Race Control may have been looking, and I've just not posted in anywhere that I've got access to right now, so there may have been some penalties already handed down. We'll finish lap 2 though with a 4-car train once again. Joni Tormula within touching distance of Marco Pajic in 4th. Siggy Sorensen at 6th and 7th. One driver on the inside of the top 6, one driver looking in from the outside. Here comes Beneka to pit lane, so whatever happened to him, that's unfortunately going to be round 8 done for him. Trying to figure out who is most liable for putting the pressure on here. Apparently Beneka, by the way, automatic corner cut penalty given to him by the simulator. That's why he had to do a drive-through on the pit road. Sorensen and Ellis Jr. fight for 7th. The problem with this is that as much as Ellis Jr. is a one to fight, you've got to weigh the risk of losing touch of Siggy in 6th if this fight drags on too much. And so as Ellis Jr. up the inside at turn 8, he's finally going to get the job done, but has lost about half a second. Rear quarter panel dinged by Sorensen as they funneled out of turn 9. Ellis Jr. now does have some clean air to work through once again. Apparently Ryan Barneveld is no longer on track. I believe Max Beneka might not be either, unfortunately, with both of them stationary on that timing on the left-hand side. Siggy's still holding with Tormula in that draft. It's Ellis Jr. that's got the bigger margin to close initially, but still has more than half the race left to run. Let's go back if we can and grab a look at the start of the race and just see how they all filtered off the line. Importantly, no one getting a jump start this time. And so, as they just waited for the engines to rise, the lights to start coming up, there was a half look from Brzezinski in towards turn 1 on the G2 BMW, but didn't really think that was ever a threat. Only Tormula, I did think was going to be able to hold on there. Brzezinski had a send, I tell you. It's a good thing that Tormula did not get a slowdown for running that wide on the track. Then behind you had Beneka trying to send it down deep as Audi action. Miles down low, Apex up high. And then working off the corner. The runs that they all got led them down into that hairpin. There was some checking up at the apex, but really we got through relatively clean. And so as Beneka popped out of the draft of Brzezinski, went to the middle, trying to hold off Ellis Jr. as much as trying to get past Tormula as well. You could see the fact that we had Rogers and Pajic also going side by side ended up compromising Tormula, who then slammed the door shut. And then we already saw that sequence afterwards. What happened after that? On to lap 5 we'll go. With Oscar at only 3/10 clear. There's Josh Rogers in the Porsche Commander Esports Racing Team car. Now I've thrown a lot of shade the way of the BMW M Team BS Plus competition. There, can get it out finally. The Porsche Commander Esports Racing Team though is equally struggle. So that is the Porsche Commander Esports Racing Team. So that is PCERT. Kurt. If the Porsche Esports Super Cup becomes PESC, does that mean that I can refer to Porsche Commander Esports Racing Team as Kurt? I do, as I was called out by Coanda's social media, I do have to stop calling them Coanda Simsport. But until I am shown evidence of a Coanda Zwift team, of a Coanda Rocket League team, of a Coanda Counter-Strike team, they're still Coanda Simsport in my heart. Even though, yes, they are VRS Coanda Esports. And I think we'll be competing tomorrow in our iRacing Nürburgring 24, by the way, in a Porsche 992 Cup car. A certain Max Verstappen also going to be joining us, so RaceSpotTV is your place to be for 24 hours of coverage. Can't wait to get started. I'm a sucker enough that I've decided that I'm going to do the first 4, the middle 4, and the last 4 hours of the broadcast, so it's going to be a long day. Don't know when I'm going to sleep. We'll figure it out. sleeps for the weak, for the weary. I'm both right now. Ellis Jr. has not been able to close on Siggy, by the way. He's 1.7 seconds off the back, halfway through this third quarter final. Wonder if Sorensen is going to try and close a little bit more. Love the paint splatter on the side of that Furia car. Never really noticed it for whatever reason, but it's like half-art car, but also not. It works. Also, Dirham's trying to get past in what is a rather striking phase Porsche. Also, Dirham is in 32nd in points. It's just going to come just short, unfortunately. Sorensen now 1.2 off of Siggy, who's been, rather off of Ellis Jr., who's closed on Siggy. Here's the train 1, 2, 3. With Pajic just about holding on. Only Tourmala, then Siggy, that second grouping. Still think there's going to be a change in this third quarter final? Feels like it's very much settled in and it's not going to change at all. So we've got, what, 3 weeks between now and June 3rd, June 4th, when these drivers that work forward to that spring major will be back out on track again. Siggy's getting a little bit slow down this back straightaway. But it's going to be interesting. What do the next couple of weeks hold? Everyone is on random rigs when they land up in Munich. The way it works is that they're all identical in terms of the hardware used. And so before your race, you're assigned to a random rig. Obviously, get yourself comfortable, get ready to go. But limited in scope in what you can do. These drivers have all spent 2 months at this point, right? At home on their own rigs as well, getting used to the feel of this brand new simulator. So that's going to be a major talking point, how they used the practice sessions before. So that's going to be good. Confirmed, by the way, that Benecca's still going to score 1 point despite being a DNF. He's in 11th spot, and so 1 point's just going to give him a little bit more of a base again, heading off in towards that day one of the major, when the points carry forward from this regular season. Osgaard's holding steady, but as is usually the norm, there's not really a reason to to fight at the front when the top 6 just go forward anyway. No points whatsoever. On board we jump with Rogers. Now in terms of Coanda, Porsche Coanda and some of the factory liveries that they've run in various virtual Le Mans series and whatnot, on occasion we've seen those cars also then run in the real world. I think this is a livery that I've heard has split opinions as Rogers gets a healthy dose of anti-cut curb. I like it. I mean, I like most liveries at the end of the day, but not really sure as to what the specific criticisms that people have had of the livery are, but I could see that car out in the real world. I could see most of these cars out in the real world, to be fair. Or custom die-cast models done by George Simmons. I saw BS Competition got a few of their big red machines done. Ibrahim Khan, who's raced in the series before, one of those drivers. It's 2 laps to run as Oscar comes to the line. And in towards the middle sector now. Brzezinski's in 10th. So he's the closest real gap right now. Yeah, Rogers is within 4/10 of Toman. Yes, Toman's within 4/10 of Oscar, but haven't really shown a willingness to fight. We did see, was it when Sebastian Job debuted, where I think we were over at the Nürburgring, where in their quarterfinal, Seb and Josh Rogers linked up once again, former rivals, battling once more. And Josh did feel the desire on the final lap to go for it. I did say at that occasion that it felt like a move that was only being made because of the 2 drivers that were battling there. And so we're not always expecting things to be happening on track. Ozildirim and Brzezinski swap around, but just effectively for a couple of points and for bragging rights as well. Brzezinski is 18th, so he's going to be watching on nervously. Does have a bit of buffer to 24th, about 20 points. Might still be good, but no guarantees. He'll be nervous until Monday. Can't book his tickets to Munich, that's for sure. Final lap of the race, though. Up front, here's Oscar. Still leads in that heroic Porsche. And again, the significant thing is, though, even though Oscar has led every single lap so far, he's not going to enjoy any benefit from it, not going to get any additional points. He's going to have to qualify again come the semi-final. They have to start again, or gets reset. They just look so calm, the body language. For those that have watched other esports, other sim racing events, you'll know how calm the drivers tend to be. It's usually reflected in the body language of the car as well. It's why I'm not a very good driver, because I'm not a calm driver, both mentally and in how I control the car. So, there's that. Here we go, though, end of quarterfinal number 3. For the 3rd time, it's from pole position to victory today, and it's the 3rd different manufacturer. Tommy Oscar takes heroic up to a semi-final, joins his teammate Tuomas Tattila. Jiri Toman for RAG makes it 3 for 3 as they try and put the pressure onto Team Redline, but Kevin Siggy does enough to work on forward. That is crucial. We'll grab a look at the race results in just a moment's time. Then we'll grab a look at some quarterfinal 3 analysis. Has been one of those days where it's calmed down. It feels like a last day of school vibe. You know, some kids are coming back for summer school in some ways, although coming back for summer school is actually good in this case. Maybe they're coming back for summer camp. And then you've got the other kids who are going off to do their own thing for a little bit. So that's the vibe. That's the result. Oscar, like we mentioned. Close margin once again. Only Chinchik really able to put his stamp on the pace of the race. He won by, what was it, 3 seconds or so? Not such a big margin behind him. So Toman, Rogers, Pajic, Tomala, and Siggy advance on forward. While Ellis Jr., Lasse Sorensen, Brzezinski, Ozildirim, Benecke, and then Barneveld are done for today. In the case of Ellis Jr. as well as Benecke, we know we're guaranteed to see them come Munich. Brzezinski is going to be watching on and a little bit nervous. I think, unfortunately, Sorensen, Ozildirim, and Benecke done for the spring season. So what did you think about that fascinating quarterfinal 3 action? We have a lot of comments about what we could do in terms of points and incentives to make the quarterfinal action a little bit closer. We've talked a lot about that this season. I think we've kind of come up with the conclusion that no matter what we do, it's going to be complicated. So it's probably easier just make it simple and not make it complicated. Complicated is, I think, what we decided. Maybe what we can just do is give points for finishing first in the quarterfinal, second in the quarterfinal, so that you at least have some incentive. The point system is quite linear, right? Because you gain 5 points for finishing 7th in a quarterfinal, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 0 respectively. And it's linear up from that. Maybe we make it a bit more exponential. You know how sometimes NASCAR does 3,000 points when you get to like the playoffs and stuff to separate things. Maybe it's like that. Vince Cusi says bonus points. I like bonus points as well, but are we giving points? I've suggested doing a type of race where you give points at the end of each lap, depending on what position they're in. I got told that's way too crazy. I disagree. I think we can have software do all of the shenanigans for us in terms of doing the scoring. But I like stuff like that. Yeah, incentive to fight, incentive to crash is maybe the way to look at that one as well, unfortunately, though. I believe we're going to be able to have a quick chat as we get ready to rumble for quarterfinal number 4 with a driver who we've been very interested in following his story over the course of the season. Hoping to get a chat with Crimsix at some point today. And as he gets ready to go for quarterfinal number 4, we mentioned this earlier, 38-time Call of Duty champion. He is also someone that has shown that evolution on a public stage. Went from being interviewed still at the end of the race on stage at IEM Katowice to being able to score 4 points so far this season, and showing in qualifying as well that the margin is coming down to those towards the front, which is what you need to see. Because qualifying is where it all starts. Moritz Lohner has said previously that qualifying is so important here. You don't have time to make up for a bad qualifying, especially given that we have reduced the race lengths from our very first in-person event. That's one of the feedback points that was given. And so don't forget that ESL R1, I'm sure, if you've got some points that you want to see moving forward, you can get your voice heard out there as well. While we get ready to go, though, for this final quarterfinal, might be a couple of minutes hold, though. We've already seen some of the action from round number 1, the first time that we were ever doing an on-site ESL R1 event. Why don't we take a look at some of the highlights from some of our other racing action, though? Why don't we go... I'm trying to think. What makes the most sense? Should we go Nürburgring? Should we go Spa? Why don't we go back to round number 7, the most recent highlights that we've got available to us, and let's check out what happened for semi-final and final action as Porsche Commander Esports ended up 1 and 2.
Now as all the cars line up on the grid, ready for the start of this race. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, and the fifth light here at Spa. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 and a very good start indeed by Dane Warren as he makes his way towards turn 1. Still not enough, though, to get past Sebastian Job. Not yet anyway, as they peel through now. There you can see the Team Red Line cars also in behind. You've got another Porsche in the mix too, but it's the G2 Esports car belonging to that is Sebastian Job, who leads them through a Rouge and Radeon. Luke Bennett there in third too. Mitchell de Jong in fourth with Enzo Benito. Sat in fifth place. Moritz Lohner there in 6th as well. But here comes now Dane Warren as they head up through towards Lake Comp. Potentially 3 wide. Enter Luke Bennett, who finds the inside line. Can he get past Dane Warren? He can. A nose in front. A vital move on lap 1 of 7. He will at least maintain that place. And here comes Benito.
Yeah, you got Yovsky in there, you got a spin as well. That'll be Moritz Lohner going rid of a half spin. Thankfully, he catches it down the inside. Marcel Ginchik's going to go, by the way. This is what happened to Moritz Lohner.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming together with the RAG as well. As we now see them come through. Now that, yeah, very, very close. And here comes the swap. Ginchik up into 6th. They almost read our minds, Lewis. Well, and here it comes. Yovsky receiving a 4-speed limit of 60, so a slowdown essentially. 5-second slowdown. The fury there of Lasse Sorensen certainly not content with staying in 9th place as they went swarming through the bus stop chicane. Oh, goodness me. And that was the slowdown. I think Yovsky was told to slow down, and I think Tatler went straight into the back of him. Into the bus stop chicane for the final time here in semi-final 1. Patrick Holzman is receiving a drive-through for a corner cut. Now that's going to certainly not help, but Sebastian Job takes victory in semi-final 1. And what a statement from G2 Esports. He's got a smile on his face.
Yeah, certainly so. So Rogers then starting from pole position. Kevin Ellis Jr. will start from the front row alongside. It's not a great launch from Kevin Ellis Jr. though. As you can see, Yannick Tourmala's got his way alongside on that race down towards the source for the first time. A couple of looks down the inside of various drivers in the background, including Jasper Brzezinski. One out wide, that's Team Redline. That is Jeffrey Rieveld who's been pushed off, and it's going to be 3 wide down the hill. It might have actually been a little bit of Kevin Siggy in there who's been pushed off coming through that first corner. The squeeze is coming up through the hill, and unfortunately, well, that is a pretty good example of the commentator's curse. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely right. Ibrahim Khan also losing out a couple of places. Jakub Brzezinski also in the mix. Look at this, 3 cars right at the back. A bit of a move there. Marco Pajic had a little twitch heading up through the Kemmel Straight. And enter now Maximilian Benneker, who looks to tackle Kevin Siggy, the man with the greatest moustache you'll ever see, now being usurped by Benneker, who looks around the outside through Malmedy. They come side by side. Oh, Siggy's round! Siggy's round! And you can just tell that he is not happy about that. Oh, we've got a bit of a tie-up as well, further back as well. Still Ibrahim Khan now trying to face off with Kaiki Oliveira. Got very deep into the bus stop there. And as a result, it got very close as well with Jeffrey Rieveld in behind. I get the feeling eventually it's going to come down to one big crescendo as Ibrahim Khan, oh, big moment heading through La Source now. And how's that going to affect his exit heading out of turn 1? They've got turn 2 and 3 coming up next. Eau Rouge and Radion, and Jeffrey Rieveld must be licking his lips at the prospects of taking on Ibrahim Khan here up the long straight here at Spa. The Team Redline now starting to creep ever closer, opening the door to the right-hand side. Defensive move there from Ibrahim Khan. The BMW moving to the inside against its suppressor from Team Redline, as now Rieveld looks to go hunting again. Might have an opportunity out to Malmedy as they creep down towards Rivage. Again, creeping to the inside again. Rieveld knows that his time is up. Heads through this next right. Khan again defends to the inside. Super work there for Ibrahim Khan. Moving. It's ever so dangerous up through towards Lecom, but he pulled it off.
Yeah, I've got to say that Lecom bit, that might have been a bit reactionary. That might have been a little bit too much. Now, I'm not sure what the rulings are when it comes to being reactionary on defence, or whether you have to be proactive, whatever. If you do it once or twice too many, if Rieveld's kind of there and then you react to his position, it can really cause a problem. Well, we are going to see Ibrahim Khan dropping back anyway, as he's going to receive a slowdown penalty on the start-finish straight this lap, so he will no longer be in 6th position. Jeffrey Rieveld will be the one to progress his way up.
Garner a result here in this semi-final. Creeps down the inside of bus stop, and they are actually going to fight here. Now this is very brave for Ibrahim Khan. I would imagine he would have been notified of his penalty. Yeah. He is going to be slowing down, and Rieveld goes through. Back
up towards the front, because Yannick Tourmala has not been able to do anything about this man here, who comes out of the final corner, and it is yet another win for Josh Rogers, who picks up semi-final number 2 here for ESL R1 round number 7 as we return to Spa.
Got 4 lights, all 5 lights are lit, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Joshua Rogers not wasting any time at all, clears his way to the front end, as now Benito looks to go hunting as well. Through La Source they go, nose to tail once again. Oh, dearie me, Kevin Ellis Jr., he's round. Kevin Ellis Jr. is round now out of La Source, and now they're going to peel through. Eau Rouge and Radion next as they all line up in a string. It's Joshua Rogers leading the way off the race start. Got a lovely lead, but now they're going to tie up now through this long straight as they do peel on through. I believe it's Enzo Benito who's now going on full attack as they now make their way up towards Lecom. Mitchell de Jong as well in 3rd as well. Covering off the inside is Rogers, as side by side as well for P4 and 5 as Chin Ching looks to enter the fight. They remain side by side through Malmedy, but enter now Mitchell de Jong. What a send there as they come through Malmedy. Rivage up next, but crucially now a Porsche tucking through the inside, the Tiger line as they tackle Rivage. Rogers in front, and 2nd now, Mitchell de Jong, Lewis McGlade.
So let's take a little look then at the race start.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin Ellis Jr. He was turned around initially.
The fact that Furia have Kaiki Oliveira representing the squad and he's doing an incredible job in doing so, and he's going to try and get past another one of the BMW M4s. It's a bit of infighting between those lot, but let's see if Kaique Oliveira can get through. He's got to the outside coming up towards Lake Com. They're all single file ahead, a bit of side-by-side from those behind as Dane Warren's trying to fend off Sebastian Job. At the moment, Bennett's able to fend off Kaique Oliveira as they wrestle their way over the top. Dane Warren, look at the fight as well. Rietveld, I think, was looking behind and almost made a bit of contact with Job.
So currently sandwiched in between the pair as Dane Warren now looks to try and get ahead of Kaique Oliveira as they go side by side, heading up through Lake Com. Contact as they make their way through. Dane Warren doing well to hold on to the car, but Kaique Oliveira now up into 7th. And take a look at Sebastian Job now, who might fancy a move heading down in towards Rivage, might choose to pick his spot earlier, and does have a look down the inside of the Porsche, not able to make the move, but a very good display of pace here from Kaique Oliveira to fend off the approach from Dane Warren and also secure that P7. Orders, we're now seeing Sebastian Job now flickering all over the back, or certainly Jeffrey Rietveld is this time as the two Beamers come together. Now this is an intriguing prospect as they come wheel to wheel again. Of course, Jeffrey Rietveld, another man who's obviously looking to try and improve his prospects in his very first final as they come wheel to wheel now through the bus stop chicane. Now the two Beamers, the team red line there, Jeffrey Rietveld contact as they head through the final corner. Job having to correct the car as they make their way down through towards turn 1, but enter Yoni Tormala. He's now in the midst of two G2 esports cars. Rietveld now in trouble, but is he, as he now goes deep into turn 1? Oh, a fantastic move from Rietveld now as the switchback comes in from Sebastian Job. They peel out of the source. They've still got a Rouge and Radion left to go as they now head up through towards those very famous bends that of course also include an elevation rise that Job tackles brilliantly as they now make their way along the straight. Tormala receives a forced speed limit. He's got to slow down due to a course collision. Now, is that due to Kevin Ellis Jr.?
I think potentially it'll be something to do with that. Let's see if Sebastian Job can make his way straight back past on Jeffrey Rietveld. There's been a couple of bumps through the final chicanes, a couple more bumps up here at Lake Com. That was a big chop over from Jeffrey Rietveld, who then gets squeezed off from Sebastian Job. I think they've been watching some British touring cars this weekend at Donington Park.
And now he's going to join an exclusive club. He's going to take his second final win. He's going to join Dara McCormack. It's Joshua Rogers. It's Porsche Coanda. He takes the final victory in round 7 here in ESL R1. It's Joshua Rogers dressed in black. The Porsche strikes. They've taken victory here in a very crucial time as we...
Hello everyone, helps if I can unmute myself before we say hello to you. Well, that was a look at what happened last time out. Porsche Coanda 1 and 2, Rogers a two-time winner now, joins Dara McCormack in that club. But more interestingly, maybe the fact that Mitchell de Jong finally able to get up onto that podium in the finals, showing the form that we expected him to show. If you're just joining us, welcome along. Already 3 of our quarterfinals are in the books, and we'll take a quick look at our quarterfinal 3 results before we head on in to take a look and talk a little bit more about quarterfinal number 4. Now remember, there were 7 or so drivers in this quarterfinal that had already made their way into the Spring Major. There wasn't too much on the line, and so Tommy Alsgaard put it on pole, did exactly what he needed to do. Toman, Rogers, Pajic, Tormala ended up sitting behind with Siggy for Redline, crucially able to grab the final spot in working on forward. Behind Ellis Jr., Sorensen, Brzezinski, also Dieren, Benecke, and then Barneveld. Done for round 8 in the case of Ellis Jr. and Benecke. We'll see them in the RaceSport Summit, for our Spring Major. So that's everything about the third quarterfinal. Let's talk now about quarterfinal number 4. Only 2 drivers have locked themselves in, but from Rietveld down to even Isaac Price, there is plenty of potential here as we get ready for this 4th quarterfinal, because ultimately when you look at the margin between Rietveld, who sits 17 in points, to Isaac Price, who's 72 points, 29th, 30th in points, that's not a big swing, and that's the difference between a driver making it to a quarterfinal versus making it to a final. And so there's a lot still on the line, still plenty left to play for. Yayovsky and Wisniewski, the 2 drivers that are locked and loaded. For Yayovsky, team championship is still important. How important, I think, is maybe the question that we will get to answer in a couple of moments' time. Once he heads out onto track, we'll see him rolling his way around. Skavissa also joins us, by the way, on debut, as the BS competition team uses They're sixth driver this season, so they have started to work their way through. See what it looks like for them in the next of the outings. Here is some shots of practice rolling underway right now. So the car's out on track. Get them unmuted as well for you. So we've seen two relatively stale quarterfinals. I think that's a good way to denote them. Quarterfinal 1 was pretty frenetic and to the point where some of the driving there was maybe questionable. Hopefully it's to the point here that it's going to be a little bit more stable. And don't forget as well that you can head on over to the Wrenchport mobile app, Apple App Store, Google Play Store to download and follow along with live timing and scoring as we're going to get ready to head off in towards qualifying now. Jack Keithley jumps back in to say hello. It was technical problems on his end. Even though he pressed the brakes, it was like he was not on the brakes and the car just massively moved forward. So that's what happened on the start that saw the jump start, unfortunately. And once that had happened, there was really nothing that poor Jack was going to be able to do. Unlucky at the end of the day, and so roll around the summer, the fall, whatever we're going to call that next season. It's the chance now for 10 drivers who are outside of that points bubble to work their way on forward, who can lock themselves into the quarterfinals now. I think it's also going to be interesting to see if anyone's going to be able to beat Marcel Chinchik's lap time. Remember, not Marcel Chinchik's lap time now, Luke Bennett's lap time, the only driver to duck down into the was it 35s? And so, as Luke Bennett's time still stands as the best, it's his teammate Jeffrey Rietveld that's going to roll. Again, all the track used through turn number 1, as per normal. A little bit better through turn 2 than what we saw in our previous qualifying session for quarterfinal number 3. Now just minimizing the distance down to the inside. Gonna get onto the brakes. Spot that braking zone about 150 meters. Rietveld turns in a bit early, not angling as much as maybe I would expect to try and stamp onto the power a little bit more. Maybe that line works a bit better with the BMW and its front engine nature. Through the flick of the right, that is turn 7. He braked a bit earlier in towards turn 8 than some of the other drivers, but it allows him to get the car slowed down and pivoted on that left-hand side. And just look how much more speed it's allowing him to carry then on the exit. In towards Mobile 1 with the wall bringing you back onto the racing surface. Half the car on the inside of the curb on the apex of Mobile 1. Uses the camber, turns in early. Car sits into the ground and really just rotates through. Nice tidy lap for Rietveld. 1:35.939 I think it was for Luke Bennett was the benchmark. Is Rietveld going to be able to better that one? Look how much he used of the track through the final corner. He's not going to set a 35. It's a 36.101, which based on what we've seen in the previous quarterfinals, we have not, or rather we are not going to see that stand at the top. Here comes Oliveira in the Furia machine. Sorensen was 8th, Veloso 9th, and Neva 8th in the previous 3 quarterfinals. Furia hoping to at least get one to advance to a semi-final to keep their hopes alive. 144 within half a tenth of Rietveld. Now let's see what the Williams Esports Mercedes is going to be able to do as 33 with the red wing mirrors to make it a little bit easier to denote, I guess. Although not red end plates, which would have made it even easier for even the silliest of commentators to pick out. He doesn't use too much of that curb through the middle of the penultimate and final corner. Interesting to see the line. 36.239. Rietveld's time stacking up relatively well. Dane Baird reminding me that there is one qualifying suspension for this quarterfinal. That's Mac Backham, Hyper Mac Backham in that Porsche Coanda esports car. Outside of that, we should see everyone else rolling around the track. Yayovsky, the Macedonian, all the way to the grass and almost then some. 36.145. He's 1,000th behind Oliveira. Now on row number 2. Isaac Price in the G2 BMW. He's 30th in points. BMW's looking good in the most recent couple of races that we've had. They were 1, 2, and 4 in quarterfinal 2. Here comes a sim racing veteran to the line, and with a 36.225, slots in front of the Williams Esports car behind the R8G Audi. Graham Carroll, who with 40 points has a tall order in order to qualify. I don't think he's got any sort of a chance, realistically. And with a 36.174, he'll at least give himself a chance in this quarterfinal by going up to 4th. But still with 6 cars yet to run. Here's Mikel Gala. Tommy Osgaard won his quarterfinal. Mikel Gala in a similar spot in points to his teammate and trying to make it a 3rd heroic car in the semi-finals here in round number 8. Only Oscar Bixrud eliminated so far. And so as Gala finds his way to the line, it's behind all the time set so far, but still only within a 10th and a half or so. One lap qualifying really does not leave much margin for error. Can't set a banker lap and then try and go for a couple of flyers. You just got to be perfect on the one, the only attempt. Yuri Kastorp, who somehow fit behind the wheel of the Audi R8 GT3 that he sits behind. He's going to have a 136.213. And so he's now up into that top 6 in qualifying. But behind, 2 BMWs, an Audi, and a Mercedes. On debut, here's Bats Kavissa in the BMW M Team BS Plus competition. Zebra number 36. There's a lot of descriptors that you could use for this team and this car. But as it comes out of the final corner, maybe a slowdown on that lap. 37.5. So easy to stray just that pixel too much. So Porter, Fluke, the final 2 cars that we'll wait to see. Oh, almost a slide there through the penultimate corner. Has to bring it back under control. Is it going to give Ian Porter a good qualifying time? He's in front of Bais Kavissa, but only just. You can see the car was a little bit loose in that final sector, though. Here's Jamie Fluke, who's been going through a bit of a rough time, and so we send our thoughts and condolences to Jamie. Still out there on track, though. And as he comes towards the line, it's going to be a 136.451. It's going to jump him up to 9th position. And that's qualifying done and dusted. So it is Jeffrey Rietveld as Red Line go back-to-back. Well, not back-to-back. 2 pole positions, I should say. Quarterfinal 2, quarterfinal 4, either side of Tommy Osgaard. Had the Mercedes of Graham Carroll up there in 4th as well. Looking pretty toasty, pretty feisty at the front, I think. With just 700 splitting 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then only a 10th and a half splitting the top 8. It's all about that dirty air. And how they're going to fight from there. I wonder now if Mac Backham's going to be able to work his way into the top 6 from the back of the field. He comes into this one, 89 points under his belt. So he's 4 clear of Oliveira, who's 2nd. He's a further 2 clear of Mikel Gala. Now, these are some of those storylines that we can talk about very quickly. While we get a brief intermission here. I tell you what we should do. I was watching on very jealously at some of the fun that was being had with some of the tier lists, so I decided that we could maybe do that very quickly here on RaceSpotTV. Here we go. So we got our wonderful ESL R1 tier list. Let's start with the Zebra, because everyone knows where I'm going with this one. We're going right up to the top. Yeah, everyone knows that a 1 VS competition paint is always going to be close to my heart. Where else can we go? I love the Maus Audi. I really do. I think it works very nicely, and it works on the Porsche 992 Cup car as well, which is the important thing. It works across of liveries. Whose livery am I going to say that I don't like? Well, controversial take. I'm going to say that the Apex Racing Team livery is only nice because the Stormforce Apex Racing Team livery would be Giga Chad, and if they did a few more different colors, it would be a little bit better as well. FaZe Clan is Chad, or whatever that means. I'm not hip with the terms. Furia, I didn't notice the art car there, but it's going to go second. I'm struggling now because whose livery is who am I struggling with the most? Bold take. R8G. Old livery was better that they used to run. That's what my personal opinion is. Williams livery is not bad. They've got the different variants that work better. The Playseat Williams esports car is great. The BenQ one with its purple front end is pretty fine too. Heroics 9, Heroics 1, that confuses me because it looks too similar to FaZe's car. So they're both actually going to get taken down a notch because they're too similar. Porsche Commander can go up as the best of the Porsche liveries then to that tier. Redline's car has to go to the top just because it's red line. There's a red line down the center of it, so it does what it says. Mercedes AMG. Now, I'm going to go... Ooh. If it was a stealth black car, like the Black Arrow that they used to run, I'd be all over it. But I'm not with it. It's going down there, and we'll put G2 in the middle. What do you guys think about that? I don't think that's a very good... I'm sure I'm going to get some hatred for that. Anyway, that's beside the point. I think we're ready to go racing in a few minutes' time. Let's get my face off the screen, and let's get ready to rumble. George Simmons, sorry! Now I know why I haven't got an Apex Racing Team t-shirt yet. It's because I'm not willing to abide by the Apex Racing Team paint policy. We got G2 fans that are not happy with me either. Oh boy, I'm in trouble. Here we go then. Lights coming up, the engine's roaring once more. The final quarterfinal of the day. R8G not getting away too well. Yayovsky trying to cover off Graham Carroll into turn 1. Big send from G2 on the Maus Audi on the run through turn number 1. But as they funnel down into that braking zone, it's Rietveld that will lead them, with Oliveira Yayovsky tucked in behind. Outside for Castorp, inside for Graham Carroll, and now Castorp leans on that Mercedes, forces him all the way to the AstroTurf, and clears him as well. First run into the hairpin. Is anyone going to block to the grass this time by? No, apparently we've all got our brains in the working mode, at least for the time being. Top 3 starting to stretch their legs. Carroll trying to run his way the long way around and get on the power a little bit more aggressively. He should be able to hold off Castorp and grab 4th position in through that Mercedes-Benz arena. But it's chock-a-block behind them. Throw a blanket over them. 2 wide, 3 rows deep. Backham's made up 1 place. Ian Porter's also trying to latch onto this one as well. Big snap of oversteer by that Mercedes AMG Williams car. Opportunity now for Gala to try and go to the outside of Mobile 1 if he really wants to be brave. Is he going to risk being put off into the gravel? He's going to risk it. He will just about hold on. Jamie Fluke now the one that's alongside in through Sachs Curve. All this fighting for 4th on back has allowed the top 3 to break away. This time it's Fluke that gets a little bit loose. Gala grabs 8th, Fluke 9th, Porter 10th, Backham 11th. And bites Kavissa on debut, I think deciding, you know what? let me stay out of the danger zone on my debut. Let me see what this is all about. We've got 10 laps to play this all out. Oh, squeeze there between the two Porsches. Ian Porter having none of it, but did he use just a little bit too much of that runoff? What's the automated steward system gonna think? I'll give him props for the attempt in trying the switch back there. It did not quite work out the way that he intended. That's the development that we're seeing though. The racecraft. He's now there, he's latched onto the back of Backham. He's going to have to fight with a real-world competitor in the form of Bikes Gavissa as well. That's going to be a lot of fun seeing the two of them. Porter's not done with Backham though. Up the inside he goes, and Mac Backham sees him coming, leaves him room, still gets forced off the track. These drivers now 1.5 seconds off the back of Gala and Fluke, who are door-to-door for 8th and 9th positions. Still only the second lap of this race. Oh, big snap of oversteer there for Bikes Gavissa. Ian Porter around the outside. He gets a big snap of his own there. It's great when we can focus down the back of the field and be so entertained when they are single file through the rest, at least for the time being. Jamie Fluke is now behind Mikel Gala and will be hoping to try and latch onto those in front. That's the transfer spot. Isaac Price. Couple of car lengths clear of the Mercedes AMG Williams eSports car. Not far clear. Let's go back and let's dial up a look at the start as we work on to lap 3 of 10 in this final quarterfinal of the day. And so as we watch the lights beginning to come on up, could see Yuyovsky got an initial decent start. It's actually probably the fact that Graham Carroll got a better start that saw him be initially alongside. There's Isaac Price trying to get the elbows out on Yuri Kastorp, but not going to work out though, as in towards the first braking zone they went. Top 3 single file. The Mao's Audi trying to really arc the corner just that little bit more, and it was here on the exit of turn 3 that he was really able to get the job done and chop the nose off of the Mercedes AMG Petronas car. Then in towards the hairpin, where I was a little bit worried at times seeing the number of cars committed down to the inside, and Erhan Yuyovsky in a spot where it could have been very, very dangerous for him, similar to what we saw with Dane Warren earlier when he got hit by Enzo Benito. Fortunately, we all survived without too much drama and continued to go side by side, 2 wide, 3 rows deep. It looked like a lot of fun, but I can tell you, it probably felt pretty stressful for the drivers. Isaac Price and trying to go around on Yuri Kastorp, but fortunately was crucially able to work his way up into the top 5. Jamie Fluke has gotten up to 8th position. Gala's down to 10th. That happened just at the end of that replay sequence that we were watching, while we were watching it, I should say. Jamie Fluke now has to find 2 seconds to close up to 6th and 7th positions. Fluke's 23rd in points, so another one of the bubble drivers. Dancing their way back onto that back straightaway through that parabolica. I see the Furia contingent out as well, cheering on Oliveira. Hoping to be the only Furia car to work on forward here in the quarterfinals today. Final online round. 2 in-person regular season rounds preceded the slew of events that we've had in the last couple of months. Everyone's going to link up back in Germany, in Munich, and see, I'm sure, plenty of work 1 year on from the team over at Rennsport, but also we'll crown our very first ESL R1 champion. Mac Backham, by the way, now up past Mikel Gala. Not close enough to Fluke yet. I don't think he's going to be able to work up into the top 6. Still, Rietveld leads from Oliveira, and crucially, unlike what we saw in quarterfinal 1, where Chinchik was able to break away, what was the margin? Almost 3-4 seconds come the end. No one else has been able to do that. It's been much closer quarters. We've had 3-4 cars at times separated by just 1 second. So, curious to see how that's going to end up faring out. Backham getting closer, by the way, onto the back of Jamie Fluke. That's for 8th and 9th position. Williams Esports Mercedes struggling to get close enough to really launch an attack onto Isaac Price. Closes up into the hairpin, though. That's the concertina, if I've ever seen one. Let me know where you're watching from and whether it's an accordion or a concertina to you. I did not realize that those actually were two words for the same musical instrument. And I got educated the day that I learned that, so I'm curious. What do you guys call it? Concertina, accordion? Right now it's just a choo-choo train though, more than anything. So halfway through this fourth quarter final, it was quite tense at the start. It's a lot less tense now, at least in my mind. Spanish, it's apparently accordion. Or I said that more French than Spanish because I did so many years of trying to speak French. Dame Baird is technically in the UK, from the UK, and it's concertina. I get the sense that it's very much going to be whatever it is in your country. So for the most part, it's going to be accordion. Might be accordion. Concertina sounds better though, because they come in concert in your, I don't know. There's something there. That's someone punnier than me. If we got Joey Tebben on this broadcast, he'd have a pun ready for you guys, but I'm not punny enough. Is Mac Backham aggressive enough though? Let's find out. Riding on board. Now people are talking about my Spanish accent. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. So, Mr. Hypermac, by the way, just want to remind you that he's doing an Ironman 70.3. He started doing his 16-week training plan at the start of March, so that means we're what? And 10 weeks into it, so he's only got maybe 6 weeks to go. Let me see if I can translate what he has just done, what his last update on his donation page was, and so what that translates to in terms of exercise. He has cycled as Erhan Yayovsky up to second, past Oliveira. No major drama there, we kind of expected that. So, oh, well, I've got to translate this entire message from the lovely Mac Backham. He says he's still very happy with his progress in week 8. He did some tests during his recovery week, so apparently this was more of a recovery week for him, where he did 6 hours and 31 minutes of stuff. 4 hours of cycling during the week, 1 hour of swimming, 1 hour of running. I don't even spend 1 minute running most weeks, if I can avoid it. The previous week, which sounds like a much more training week, 12 hours, oh boy, now I'm scared. 5 hours of cycling, that actually sounds quite enjoyable. 2 hours and 23 minutes of swimming, no. And then running, 3 hours and 51 minutes, 37 kilometers, no. And then another 45 minutes of general strength and core work. Yeah, this is why I like eating my food than burning my food off. I think that's the difference here. Ian Porter and Weitz are down the end of the field, having a fun little battle of their own. Remember, this is for a point, as Porter's going to get quite loose out of Sachs' curve. Got a little bit out of the groove. If you do want to donate to Mac, by the way, as he charts his training and continues to work towards his goals, He is... you can sponsor him for every kilometer he runs, for every minute he's in the water, for every kilometer he bikes. It's a really nice thing that I think he's doing, and he's already got about 2,500 euros collected. Let's see if we can drive a little bit more traffic his way. Hyper Mac Backham's Twitter is Mac, MACK_back. So let's go and see if we can give him a little bit of love. Loving this battle down the end of the field. It does mean, though, that it's somewhat status quo between Price and Wisniewski for G2 and Williams Esports. The BMW trying to poke to the inside. In towards the hairpin. Porter gives the room. Tries to cut back a little bit on exit. But nicely done by Visser to slide on through and grab 11th spot. Ian Porter now try and set up the end of the lap. Meanwhile, closer towards the front, there's Graham Carroll, who is going to advance on forward, which I think is going to be of great delight to him. Did have a streak, rounds 2 and 3 of the championship, where he got to consecutive semi-finals, but it's not been smooth sailing for him. Not been smooth sailing for many. It's a hard championship to really sit here and commentate whatever I'm doing. I'm not really commentating, I'm talking. Because it's such a short championship in some ways, right? Because it's only 8 rounds and then the 2-day major. It's only 3 tracks, fixed setups, drivers learning a new platform, drivers learning new teams, chaotic races, short races where qualifying is very, very important. It's one of those seasons where honestly it feels like, okay, yes, we expected someone like Josh Rogers, maybe Luke Bennett to be up the front. But does that mean that we didn't expect the fact... Do we expect Graham Carroll to struggle this much? Probably not. Bono House to struggle this much? Probably not. Phil Dinez as well. Go on iRacing, go into a BMW M4 GT3. I mean, Phil Dinez is maybe one of the drivers to beat. So, when we say this driver's had a great season, when we say this driver's not had such a great season, take it all with a pinch of salt, I think is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, coming towards the final lap of the race, and the final lap of quarterfinal action. That feels weird to say. What a fun 90 days it's been since we got this journey underway. It's going to be fun for the drivers to get back in person, I'm sure, as well. Yes, we keep talking about how there's more tension in the air in an in-person event, but there's a sense of camaraderie as well that cannot be described. Unless it's Sim Racing Expo, in which case it's not camaraderie, it's antagonism. Theft, stealing flags, stuff like that. Oliveira's lost ground to Yuyovsky. Same time, Wisniewski's lost ground to Price. So top 6 looking pretty stable. And the answer to the question of, could Mac Backham get up to the top 6? No. Jamie Fluke, I think, got a penalty because he's dropped back down to the 10th position behind Mikel Gala and Mac Backham. Backham was able to get up into 8th. And he'll hope that he's done enough to secure his spot. Apparently Crimsix also has a drive-through penalty of his own. So maybe he's going to end up scored as last. Jamie Fluke might have a drive-through as well, subsequent from whatever's happened. Remember, they have a penalty. They have a drive-through on the final lap of the race. Is this Michael Schumacher territory? Are we all heading off to pit lane? Is that the shorter line? Shorter time? Regardless, this was the beginning of the final chapter in the spring season, and after wondering who was going to come out on top, we're more now concerned about who's going to be left behind heading out of Monday. Front of the field, we're going to see Jeffrey Rietveld cross the line, or not cross the line, but grab the victory in quarterfinal number 4, and behind them, plenty of other drivers satisfied with a decent outing in the final quarterfinal today. Oliveira, Carroll, Castup and Price get one more shot on Monday. The rest will be watching on, and in some cases hoping that their path to Munich has not been interrupted. So we'll wait for those race results, and then we will begin our quarterfinal rundown. Here we go. It is confirmed that Rietveld only clear by, what was it, 0.6 of a second? That margin at one point was closer to 0.8, so pretty nifty turn of speed from Yayovsky. And remember, Redline versus RHG, the story to watch on Monday come the team championship. Behind them, Oliveira just holds off the like of Graham Carroll. You have Castup and Price as well. Apparently, we're not even going to get to look at all of those race results. So hello everyone and welcome back inside to RaceSpotTV. After all the on-track action is finished, we'll try and get you some race results in just a few moments' time as we wind things down. And on the bottom of your screen, you will see those provisional race results start to tick their way on through. Penalties, not sure exactly how that's going to play out. We've already mentioned Jamie Fluke, one of those drivers, as well as Crim6 that might have a drive-through penalty at the end of that race. While we're waiting to confirm the quarterfinal 3 results, why don't we go through and talk through the previous quarterfinal results? And 1 through 3 had their own share of drama there. Quarterfinal 1, the one with the most entertainment, the most race control intervention, you're going to have to probably assume as well. Marcel Chinchik victorious in front of Dharma, Cormac, Sebastian Job, who slipped back to 3rd in the closing stages, Jane Baldwin, Tumas Tatala, Tim Yarshell, the top 6. Behind them, we say goodbye to Patrick Holtzman, to Marcelo Neva, to Phil Denez, to Dane Warren and Peter Berryman, all done for the spring season. Enzo Benito will still be in the spring major, but is going to lose out on a couple of points here today. Entered the round 7th in points. We'll be curious to see how it all ends up shaking out. Behind them, as we take a look at quarterfinal number 2, Luke Bennett is victorious here, and after blasting the qualifying benchmark of Marcel Chinchik, only driver to dip down into the 135s, and he was pole position winner here. Eamon Murphy, Moritz Lohner, Niels Naujoks, Thibaut Casabon, and then Mitchell de Jong will advance on forward, while the likes of Oscar Bixrud, Bono House, Victor Veloso, Lucas Muller, Jack Heathley, and Johan Hart, all 6 done for the season. One more quarterfinal to quickly touch on before we hopefully have quarterfinal 4 results up and available for us. It's Toby Osgaard, as well as Yuri Toman, Josh Rogers, Marco Pajic, and then Joni Tormala, as well as Kevin Siggy, the 6 that advance. Crucial for Siggy to be able to do so as well, because let's not forget, with the lack of Benito working on forward, RHG and Redline, who came into this one, well, Redline and RHG, who came in 1 and 2 in points, the margin may slightly close heading out into Monday. That was quarterfinal number 3 with Ellis Jr., Sorensen, Brzezinski, Ozil Diram, Benecka, and then Ryan Barneveld, the rest of the top 12. Benecka did DNF, but of note, he did score 1 point, which adds to the 176 that he brought into today's running. For Ellis Jr., another driver that we can lock on in. But for Sorensen, for Brzezinski, he's going to be watching on very nervously. Came into this one 18th, but still has a potential chance, you'd have to say. Now, Ozildiran, one that does not, unfortunately, is on the wrong side of the bubble. Just waiting for quarterfinal 4 results to be not confirmed, but to be provisionally released onto us. So we will get that over to you in just a few moments' time as we get ready to wrap up. I'll just remind you before we do wrap up. There we go. Armour.gg/collection/RaceSpot. 10% off using the coupon code RaceSpot. I will tell you, tomorrow we are heading over to the Green Hell for the iRacing 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. You can ask the question, is Max in the split plenty? The answer will be yes. Max Verstappen is joining us tomorrow for what's going to be a very fun race. I think he's sharing the responsibilities of driving with Chris Lollam, pretty quick driver in his own regard, as well as Diogo Pinto, our current Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup champion, although likely not for very much longer. Monday's going to be interesting because while quarterfinal 1 was physical, wasn't all good racing. Quarterfinals 2 through 4 were a little bit more restrained, a little bit more reserved. Are we going to see the shackles, though, release? Are the drivers that know that now they are good to be in the top 24 going to fight as hard as they can to bring the most points over and towards Munich? Or are they going to be a bit more content to settle for what they've got and just try and stay out of the eye of the stewards, because you'll have to go and actually see the stewards, I would assume, when we finish off in Munich on June the 3rd and the 4th. Just a reminder of that schedule as well. The online round started on March the 13th. April was busy for us. We went back to back to back, but we got out of that one. Slightly rescheduled final round of the online season as well before we all head our way over to that spring major. Recap the series details, or rather the spring season details as well, and for what prize money is available for where everyone finishes. Total prize pool tots up to 250,000 euros. That's split across the team and the drivers though. 45,000 euros, excuse me, to both our winning champion in the teams and the Drivers' Championship. We mentioned that only the top 24 advanced to the two-day spring major, and we mentioned as well, remember, that the points carry forward to day one. Once we finish all that racing action, 12 drivers eliminated, and then we whittle it down into finalist mode. Dane Baird was interacting in our YouTube chat and walking through a couple of those different situations, the different scenarios, and hopefully it's not going to be a never-ending day of racing. Hopefully it will come to an end eventually. Here's the look at the results then for quarterfinal number 4. Provisional, of course, as ever. Jamie Fluke, we thought, had a drive-through penalty, but classified in 10th on the day. 23rd coming into the day for Fluke. Question marks about his participation moving forward. Same about Miguel Gala, who was 22nd in points. For Mac Backham, 20th in points. 8th for him is also going to be a little bit worrying. Wisniewski came into this one locked in. He won't be too worried about watching on Monday. For Rietveld, for Jujowski, Oliveira, Carroll, Kastorp and Price. One more chance to fight at the Hockenheim Ring on twitch.tv/ESL R1, 6 p.m. CEST, same time and same place. Before we say goodbye, I just will remind you once more that the action is going to be fast and unforgiving here on RaceSpotTV. We'll be underway not at 12:25 p.m. Eastern, but instead at 12:25 p.m. UTC for the iRacing Nürburgring 24 hours. 24 hours of uninterrupted coverage. It's going to be a blast. It's a 5-class affair with 55 cars heading out onto track. Survival is the name of the game. It's very much man versus the track versus machine versus the traffic, and probably in that order. Thank you so much for your company once again, and indeed through the entirety of the quarterfinals for this spring season. We've had a ball, and hopefully we'll do it again later on this year when ESL R1 returns. Do remember, twitch.tv/ESL R1, your place for the rest of the spring season. On behalf of our team at RaceSpotTV, including behind the scenes, Dane Baird, Cam Roger, Hugo Luis, Ikumera Kala, Linus Brosham, and so many more that have made this all happen on site in ESL headquarters. They've made my life a lot easier as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on RaceSpotTV.